and I didn't know if you had the Cochrane one set to go. But that would not that it needs to be. It's just something that you could compare.
There with bees, everybody. Yeah, welcome. Well, we got a couple people that popped in already, and who knows? It is a Monday night. I want to thank everyone for being here. I hope you. Is anyone hearing that feedback I'm getting? If not, if you're not, fine. Doesn't matter if I have to hear it a little bit. But anyone
I'm not hearing anything.
Okay, but if someone out there is, just let me know, fellow peoples in the chat there, if you would. But whoever is here, thank you so much. And whoever shows up, we'll be thanking them as they come. And we'll thank anyone who listens on the. Thank you for listening to this on a download. Every way, welcome to Clobberin Times, issue number 25/725. Moving over here to the YouTube has been one of the most fun things I have had in my life. I've done in my life, I should say, with this show. It is so great that that I got away from old BTR. And some of my old BTR friends did follow me over, and I do appreciate that, though. We're going to get right on to talking about our topic tonight because I'm excited about this. It's the kind of topic that, Flash and I did a lot of these listings, had a great time. But it's a visual topic, obviously. A lot of things are just verbal topics. You can talk about them, movies and what have you. Back in 2012, when Flash and I did our movie soundtracks list, Tex did a fantastic job of putting together sound clips of all the things you can get away with that kind of stuff over on BTR, I guess. And we had a blast. It was a lot of fun. I go back and listen to that one sometimes, and it was really great. And he did, and Tex did a great job on that. But obviously, you need a format like this, live or otherwise. You need a format that allows you to go visual to do what we're going to do tonight. So I've always wanted to do this. I love comics. My friend here, the great Mark C, loves comics, and one of the things about comic books being a visual medium is the first thing you see is the cover. Yes, I know you're all shocked. None of you knew that, right? So, yes, imparting super knowledge to you all. But seriously, though, that's one thing that sticks with you as well. I mean, you can buy a comic that's really crappy on the interior, but still go, well, you know what? That was a good cover. I got a bunch of them. So if you've been buying comics for any length of time, especially, just about maybe any time, but especially in the silver and bronze age, but probably even beyond that, you probably have some comics in your collection. Because you can go, that was crappy interior art or what have you. Wasn't a very good story. But damn, look at that cover. Because the cover was the selling point. They got to sell it to you. They got to grab you. It's the hook. It's got to grab you. Yeah.
It's the hook.
It's the hook.
That not only that, but I mean, as a kid, you went into, but I mean, you and I go back before comic shops existed. And for us, it was, you go to your local drugstore, your grocery store, your five and dime newsstand, if you will. or a bookstore that had a magazine rack, and you look through the comics, and it was what was it from 10, 15 feet away that was going to grab your attention, and it was the cover, no doubt.
It was the cover, man. It was the cover. And again, unless it was just a title you were going to buy regardless, it was one you were stuck with. But if it was the thing is to grab customers, pull them in there and grab readers. And yeah, you got to have that cover. That's why there were so many covers, especially back then. An example would be like a really, really nice George Perez Justice League cover with a very Don Heck inside of it. I'm not trashing Don Heck for his older stuff. He was a great artist in his time, but again, I didn't know this when I was buying these comics, but he was a very, very old man by the time toward the end of his career, and they were throwing him work. And sometimes you'd open up one of those covers, go, wow, it looks so good, and you would see. I mean, compared to stuff today, it's fine, it's fantastic, but at the time, as a kid. Yeah, so covers, there are tons and tons of wonderful ones, and there are tons and tons of not so good ones, but usually, especially at that point. Oh, okay, I got texted there, man. I forgot to turn my phone down. Sorry, everyone. But usually at that point, the editors are saying, we got to grab, like Mark just talked about, got to grab you with our cover. So tonight, I'm going to do what's tough for me. Mark was telling me here it's not that tough for him, although he does love a lot more than 25 covers as well, obviously. It was brutal for me, but I've always wanted to do this. And that's what's always fun with these lists for me, everyone, because, it makes you narrow it down a little bit. Does that mean that these 25 are the greatest covers of all time? In my opinion, no. They're just my favorite. The ones that stuck out. I could have picked 25,000. There's so many great covers out there. There are going to be tons of them. You're going to go, hey, man. We used to have this all the time back with our list before, Mark, on BTR. Like, hey, how did you leave so-and-so out? How'd you leave this out? How'd you leave that out? I'm like, no, that's a great one. I agree with you. But somehow I just, I only had this much room, and I did this for this reason. It felt with covers, it just spoke to me more. And it just did. There's no right or wrong with it. That's subjective. But so I always put that caveat out there when we used to do those shows then, and I do it now because, hey, and you please feel free when you hear our list, throw some in the chat or wherever, throw some covers out there that we may not put up there that you like. And chances are we probably think they're pretty damn good too.
I want to let everybody know now, I worship at the altar of Neil Adams. There are absolutely no Neil Adams covers on my list. Please save your torches and pitchforks. I understand. I get it. But I'm coming at this from, I looked at it from at least in my list, it was, when did I start collecting? I started really collecting in 82, 83. And from my collecting time, what were the covers that enticed me to buy a book off the stand? And so I tried to keep it to either monthlies or annuals, whatever, that these were covers that made me want to grab this thing off the stand and take it home and read it.
Yeah.
And so that's
cool.
that's how I gauged what. There's a few in there that are older than I am that I went into a comic book shop and they were on the wall and I was like, oh, I got to have that book today. And so I put it on my list. But otherwise, most of them are from the times where I was like, wow, look at that. I got to go check out right now. This has got to be in my collection.
Well, it's a very personal thing. There might be a cover that one of us would put up there that someone would go, yeah, that's okay, but why did it speak to you that much? There could be more of a story to it than just it looking good. I mean, it'll also harken back to a time in your life, as you were kind of just touching on a bit. Like when you bought that, it just stirs something. It can vary from that to it was just such a beautiful cover you had to put it there. So there are all kinds of reasons people put their favorite covers. And we're going to count down in the traditional Clobberin time way, is that we will start with our guest and we're from 25 down. And when he names his, of course, we will put the pictures up there. But that's what's so much fun about this format. So without further ado, my friends, we will start counting down our favorite, top 25 favorite, that is, all time comic book covers. And first will be my good friend, the great Mark C. Thank you for being here again, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Indeed, man. It's always fun talking some comics with you, and we're going to have some fun with that right now, and I hope our friends will have the same. So your number 25, go.
Number 25 was a book that I wasn't even collecting at the time it came out, but I did pick up this issue only because I thought the cover was great. And not only was it great, but I believe there was about 3 or 4 different printings of this thing with different backgrounds.
Yes.
But my number 25 is the Dale Keown cover. It's the Incredible Hulk number 377. And that would be the Hulk in silhouette, but with that green background.
There you go. And that would be the correct background then, right?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
That's first printing there.
Yeah.
It's the Hulk in his absolute rage. And I know Dale was on the book before this cover. I'm almost positive he was, but this was hey, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on. You need to buy this book because this is what I'm doing. And you saw that cover and it's like, well, I got to have that. That looks amazing. And fortunately, this was a situation where the interior matched the cover. You know, this is the same artist. You weren't disappointed when you picked up the book.
Yeah, I remember. I can't remember if I was buying the book at the time. I know it was during Peter David's run, but I remember the color of the cover very well. The new Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, and understand when I pick covers, it's as like I said, did it catch my eye? Was it a hook, or is there something about it that I find graphically appealing or artistically appealing? It is in no way, shape, or form indicative of what is inside the book. My list has nothing to do about what the contents of the books are. It is just the covers that I'm here to talk about, and this one I always thought was an amazing cover that Keown did.
Yeah, absolutely. And the hook it was. There you go. So excellent there. And that was supposed to be my number 25 is more sentimental than anything else. It'll be Legion of Superheroes, Volume 3, the Baxter Format Series, number 37. This ties in with a story that I know you're familiar with because you being the big Byrne fan that you are, DC with Legion. I'm a huge Legion of Superheroes fan, and we might see them again. It's just got a weird feeling. As you know, I'm a big Legion fan, and I've always loved this cover. It's always stood out, even though this was a very bittersweet, sad story to me. But I've always just loved, there are far more artistic and beautiful covers throughout that series. I love this Baxter series. It was really great. I love the Paul Levitt stuff with Steve Lytle and Greg Lowell. And this Steve Lytle cover always stood out to me because I grew up loving Superboy as a kid. And this was part of that story where, if you may remember, Byrne was, they were separating the Pocket universe, Superboy, and dealing with him and dealing with his story. And of course, I think you know what happens to him. And this was part of that, right around leading up maybe to that 4-parter or whatever it was, crossing into Superman in action with this series. So very sad. Makes me very, very sad to think about it. Of course, the issue after this, 38, has an amazing, Bill Sienkiewicz cover. Him doing Legion, I know it's weird. It's a gorgeous, beautiful cover. I almost picked it first, but this one harkens back to my childhood more. It just makes me, when I saw it when it came out back in 80. Oh, I don't know, 4 or 5, whatever. 5 is, no, actually 6 or 7, somewhere up in there. This would have been like that. This
would have been either late 86 or early 87.
Right. Exactly. Because
if I recall, in 86, Man of Steel came out during the summer, and
July 4th, actually. Yeah.
And it ran bi-weekly, so it was done in 3 months.
Right.
And I want to say the first part of the story was issue 8 of Superman.
I believe that would be correct. Yes. It was, I think they had Superboy punching Super Yuppie on the cover, if I remember right.
Nope, that was Action Comics. That was the final part.
Oh, that was the action one. Okay, right. You're right.
It was Superman. It was the redo of the Fantastic Four cover, the Gladiator holding up the thing.
That's right.
That was the first part of the story.
Okay, that was the first part. Good. I was confused. So there you go. That was when he was holding, instead of the thing in this case, he was holding block, and he had the Legionnaires set up just like that FF cover. Yep. So there you go. Yep. Good call. Your number 25, sir.
No, 24. I already gave you my 24.
I can't count.
No, you can't. It's all right. That's what comic books are for.
Exactly.
My number 24 was actually a book I didn't collect at the time because it came out before my time. But we had a buddy of ours named Jeff Nice Jeff Nice owned a comic shop called the Joker's Palace.
Jeff Nice. Yes.
Jeff is has been a longtime friend of mine, is like a brother to me. And this book sat on the wall for several years until finally I just broke down and couldn't stand it anymore. I had to have it. And it was Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Volume 1. The first one, number 4. And it's a Steranko cover. And it's like it says, it has the origin. It's the origin issue of S.H.I.E.L.D., but the cover just gives you the absolute greatest image that I think Steranko ever did of Nick Fury. And then the graphic elements on it, because he was as much a graphic designer as he was a comic book artist or an illustrator, just made me fall in love with the cover. So the color of Nick popping with the black and white background, I always loved this cover. Every time I would eyeball this thing, every time I came into the shop, till finally I was just like, can you make a deal on it? I gotta have it. And yeah. I think we can make a deal for it. I think we can fit it into your budget. So
it's amazing. It's good. It's one of the great covers, man. I love it, and it epitomizes Nick Fury, really. And
to me that this particular cover really tells you this is the book. This is what you're in for. So
absolutely. My number 24 is well, I'll just show it because only the Shadow knows. I bought this series way back when, and of course, Mike Kaluta cover for Shadow number 1 is just, in a sense, sort of like this the Fury cover that you just had. To me, everything representing the Shadow so beautifully about the character, the pulpishness of the cover. He didn't do very many issues on the interior, Kaluta, but this first issue he did was great. I still have it somewhere, I believe, I'm sure. And there were a couple of really good covers, and he did other covers actually for Batman and things like that with the Shadow and Batman on them that came close to making my list. But this one is the one that stands out for me.
It's a beauty. I got it at the house.
Great cover. Yeah, Mike Kaluta. I could have picked 50 Kaluta covers. He was just amazing. There's so many great covers. Say again.
Are you familiar with Fritz Lang's Metropolis?
Of course.
Well, the original, I think it's a novel or a short story, was done. Theo von Harbour, I can't remember the name. It's very German, but anyway, there's a book out there where Kaluta does interior drawings, and this makes you want to cry. Nobody should be able to draw like that.
It's amazing. He is just one of my favorites. Again,
he's amazing.
And dude, he's another one of those from that period, from that time, who just didn't do a lot in terms of volume of work, not like tons and tons of work for the comics industry. What he did, it resounds though.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Your number 23.
All right, this was a comic that I got when I was ill. I'd been home. I think I had the flu, and I think my mother had gone to the pharmacy and actually picked it up. But I was so taken by the cover because of the action involved in the cover. It just epitomized to me the character, which was Amazing Spider-Man number 186. There we go. And it just shows. I don't even know who the artist is. To this day, I don't know who the artist is.
Keith Pollard.
Is it Keith Pollard?
Yeah, and I love Pollard, by the way. And I couldn't find an inker thing on it either. I tried to look all these up. So he inked himself, apparently. This is a fantastic cover. I bought it when it first came out.
It just, I got this. It's I believe the Chameleon is the villain on the inside. But it just the dynamicism of him bouncing around the city and then just really right in your face. I've loved this cover ever since I got it. I was like, you did a good job, Mother, because this is going to be a fun read. And this is one of those books that I lost. The one that I had as a kid, I lost because I wore the cover off and it just went away. And I rebought. And then, as you know, we had the flood in 2016, and I was crushed. So I went and bought it again. So now it's back in my collection.
Nice. It is a great cover. Very Ditko-ish in a sense. It looked like it's a callback to a Ditko Romita look to it. I love Pollard, man. I'm one of those. I mean, he did a pretty substantial body of work throughout the mid late 70s, and for a while then I don't really know what. I'm not exactly sure what happened to him. I like the store stuff. I liked his FF, and he did a little fighting.
He stayed busy even to the 80s. I want to say that he did a fair amount of work on like the stuff like the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones and little known books that a lot of people didn't pick up unless you were just into whatever it was he was doing.
Yeah, I liked it. It was good. Tonight's first wraparound cover will be my number 23, and it's got a strange title. Limited Collector's Edition presents Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, Mike Grell. I was a huge fan of Grell's Legion. Of course, I'm just Legion freak. Everyone get ready. You're going to see some Legion covers. It's the way it's going to be. Not a million of them, but I got a couple. I could have put 20 of them on here, though. And I just love, maybe it's me. Maybe it's a pattern with me. I don't necessarily like crowded covers, but I like covers with tons of superheroes on them. Especially flying. I don't know what it is. When they're just standing for a pose, it's okay. When they're fighting, it's cool. When they're flying, I don't know. You got me somehow. And I love Grell's run on Legion. It's one of my favorites. It's one of his Bronze Age Legion. Cosmic Boy's crazy costume notwithstanding, has all the costumes that I do love. And it's just probably my favorite or second favorite era for Legion. It's right up in there. So, and this was a book. A lot of it was reprints. I have a huge, or what I think is a pretty huge, Treasuries collection, and I do love this one. Derek McManus, thanks you for popping in, sir. I'm glad to see someone is with us tonight. So thank you for being here, sir.
With Grell's run on Legion of the Superheroes, for me, the selling point was the ladies. He redesigned the costumes for the ladies, and they all look spectacular.
Oh, especially Saturn Girl, and Projector looked great too. So yeah.
When we were doing it the last time I was on here with you, I don't know who, or you were on here, and I was like, I don't know who that is, but that is one hot looking lady. And
yes, she is smoking. Yep, love her. That was producer's Projector. I love her. That's probably my favorite of her costumes. Shockingly. Number 20 and every 22 for you, right? 22.
Number 22 came during a really special run of a comic book, and it was you were learning about one of the great villains inside this comic book, and it's hard to create a good villain that stands the test of time, and if you are a fan of the book, then he does, and that's the New Teen Titans. This is the volume 1. Number 40, and it is Brother Blood, literally bathing in blood. Oh, and just in case that's not evil enough for you, we've added a really menacing looking cave with that makes look like a skull and flames. So I don't know. It just literally just the look of him rising out of that, just covered in blood to the point you can't even see him. It was like, whoa. You just had to know who this dude was and wanted to know more about him, and didn't disappoint. This is one of my favorite villains of all the Teen Titans ever fought, even more so than Deathstroke. And I realized to a lot of people that is sacrilege, but I like this their version of Brother Blood better than Deathstroke the Terminator. I just did.
I don't blame you. He was great. He was a great villain, and that cover is spooky. I remember buying it and it was creepy, man. Buying when this first came out, I was loving Titans. I was selling a lot of them, that's for sure. And it was huge at the time. Even still, it was quite a run. Quite a run, sir.
Great book, and if you get a chance and you never read them, they're easy to find right now. They're putting them all in trades. I think they're up to number 10. And I know it seems like a lot, but they're actually pretty easy still to find if you go hunt them down now. And probably one of the great runs in all comic books.
Amazing stuff. Yep. Wolfman and Perez with Tangal inking, many of them. My number 20. What are we? 2? We're 2, right? Yeah. My number 22 is this is something I was kind of touching on earlier. Not such a great interior, but it's such a part of my childhood. I remember buying it when I was 12 years old, and this cover always stood out then. It stands out now. I just love this king-size annual number 4 of Daredevil, Gil Kane cover. It was just all, again, the story has a excuse me, The Interior by George Tosca. We won't get into that because not nice. But and it was not much of a story by Marv Wolfman. He could have done better, but this cover, for some reason, to me, it's just dynamic. And I don't know what it is about Subby flying out of the water like that, and just, it just, as a kid, I wasn't that discriminating about the interior art at that time. Don't get me wrong, but I couldn't take my eyes off the cover. I don't know what it was. I love dynamic covers for superheroes fighting. And I always was, at the time, I hadn't seen a lot of Black Panther, but I read some of his comics and I really liked him. I was buying Daredevil whenever I can get my hands on it. So, Don, not a whole lot to say about this cover. Just kind of from my childhood. It's kind of a kid thing. I loved it. The cover. And that's what we're here about tonight. So, let's see, what was the next? 21?
21.
21, sir.
All right. I've mentioned this several times on your show before that I've been on. I've talked about going into your store and buying this Batman T-shirt that was Batman in silhouette, except for the bat. It's the bat symbol itself, and how it was in the rain and lightning bolts in the background. I thought it was just a really striking image that Norm Brayfogle had put together. And this was on a T-shirt, and probably my favorite Batman T-shirt of all time.
Nice.
But it was actually taken from a comic book cover itself, and the cover was Detective Comics 587. And yeah, it's just one of my favorite images of Batman. If you're a Norm Brayfogle fan, it does not get better than this. It just doesn't.
It's amazing. He did some really stellar work on Batman.
Yeah, him. I want to say Mike Barr started off that run with him, and then Alan Grant took over, and man, they stayed a team for a while. And they did probably one of the great Clayface storylines with the Mud Pack, and they did a lot of good stuff on that run. It was good time. There was a period, and if you ever watch Az on Heel versus Babyface, this period of mid to late 80s of Batman is his favorite, and it's one of mine too. The Jim Starlin doing the main book, and Alan Grant and Mike Barr were doing detective, and before Norm Brayfogle, I think Alan Davis did about 3 or 4 issues, or maybe a few more, and it was just a really good time to be reading Batman.
I bought it often at the time, absolutely. And where are we now? We're at 21. We're 21. 21.
You're 21.
21. Well, this cover destroyed me when I first saw the ads for it as a kid. Another 1976 comic. What do you think about that? Because a 12-year-old's mind exploding, I guess, isn't that unusual. When I saw the ads for it building up to it, I just could not wait for this thing. And it was not easy to get. It's too big for a spinner rack, this wonderful Treasury edition. But, Spider-Man versus Superman. Actually, Superman versus Spider-Man, excuse me. Ross Andru, Dick Giordano. Well, maybe Dick Giordano. I think at the time he was inking a lot of his stuff. But we don't know.
I think he inked that, but that has a lot to do with the fact that little known fact is but the cover is part of it. But that, and I don't believe that the Superman faces belong to Ross Andru. I believe they're Neil Adams.
They are,
and I think Neil actually demanded that Dick do his own inking on that, and Neil could do that.
Well, there were a lot of inkers on the interior as well. Terry Austin inked some of it, some other ones too. The great Terry Austin, one of the greatest inkers ever. So there were a lot of them there. But this cover, again, it's iconic for a reason. It was, of course, the first cross-company superhero cross-company meeting, and as goofy a story as you're ever going to read, because that's what Jerry Conway does.
No. The sequel to this was goofier.
I thought that I totally disagree with the other. I think Jim Shooter's story was less goofy than this, but it had some good scenes in it with John Buscema doing the art. Now I like this one better. It's more flashy and it's really goofy though. Splitting hairs because they're both pretty goofy. But when you're 12 years old and you're seeing Superman and Batman. Superman and Batman, listen to me. Well, that's great too, by the way. Superman and Spider-Man, teaming up. Goofy don't mean shit. You're just like, oh man. And so the fun was epic for me with that one, and then this cover man, it always gets me right here. I see it.
And I love the way that on the screen right now, the way it's positioned is my avatar head is coming out of the antenna.
Ah, yes, it's broadcasting your thing.
That's right.
All right, sir. This would be just got to help him with the numbers because I could forget him. So that's 20.
And number 20, my
for
number
you, 20, sir. Go for it.
This is a garbage book. If you ever pick it up and look at the insides, you're going to be like, "What the hell?" But I thought the cover was really striking. It's just one of those covers. I picked it up because I thought the cover was damn cool, and that's the only way I know how to describe it. It was the Mighty Thor number 460. It's got this really awesome painted cover of Thor, and you know he looks totally badass and ready to go. And I saw it, it's like, that's really awesome. That's a good, cool cover. I bought it for the cover, and then I put it. I looked at the insides and said, "Oh, this is garbage." Then I put it on my wall as a wall piece. You know, sometimes you'll take the cool covers and you'll pin them up to your wall and kind of make either make a wall of them or maybe border this around the ceiling. And I did a border around the whole ceiling of my bedroom at the time, and this is one of the ones that was on it just because I thought the cover was cool.
Yeah. And sometimes, again, for this list, that's all that matters. I remember seeing it, but you know what? I don't think I ever picked it up. So
yeah, missed nothing but the cover.
And that's enough, man. And no end is half the battle when it comes to covers. So that's excellent. There you go. It's pretty. I mean, something. Let's see. The dude's name was Harrison or something like that. I forget the guy's
something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that how much comic book work he did. But I was like, wow, his anatomy is really good. I mean, he's definitely has to be looking off of a model to do this, but you know, it works for me. So
pre-Alex Ross, he was working off with a model there. So yeah, yeah, it was Lou Harrison or something like that. But again, I looked. You know, when I was doing some research, and if he did any other stuff, it couldn't have been much. So yeah. I'm just gonna have to admit this almost every single time when we get to, and this is my 20, I suppose. When we get to mine, a lot of these are based on nostalgia and you know, just sentimentality, I suppose. And as my next one is, my number 20 would be this one. Marvel 2-in-1, number 50, George Perez, with a Byrne written and drawn interior. One of my favorite weird thing stories. It's weird, ridiculous ending beyond one of the most ridiculous comics you're ever going to read, but in a fun way. And it was really great. This is some of my favorite Byrne work with Joe Sinnott. And of course, this is Perez and Sinnott cover. Well, you know, I'm sure everyone might be able to take a wild guess how we both feel about, you know, the thing and how you're a big Byrne fan and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure something's giving that away. And this one, to have them both on the cover, the old lumpy thing from the original early FFs, meeting his more smooth rocked self of the time. Well, when I saw this on and I forget exactly when it was. Late 70s, something 78, 9, whatever it was. Saw this on the stands. Yeah, bam. Again, rocked. No pun intended. So I've just always loved this cover. And I actually do love the interior of it. It's a bonkers ending. It's just, read it though, because it's worth reading.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, it's a fun book. So your number 19, sir.
Number 19 is one of those classics that if you don't have in your collection, you're sad you don't, but it's really expensive to get. It was one of those that just like you said, just if you found it on the stand, you had no choice but to grab it just because the cover was so iconically striking. And there are two different types of covers. There are story covers, much like the Thing battles the Thing, and then there's this one, which is more iconic, more of a pinup, but it's The Dark Knight Returns #1. Just the image of the silhouette of Batman with the lightning bolt behind him. I don't know what else to say. It was an eye catcher, and you were not disappointed with the story inside at all.
Oh no, not at all. Hail Chris Persia, the great master, king of the wrenches. I'm so glad to see you here. Thank you. I'm honored to see you, my friend. And it's amazing of you to stop by. I appreciate it. And Juan R, by the way, an old buddy. Good to see you there, Juan R. Thank you all. Then Derek, again, thank you for being here. We're just sort of just getting started here. I'll never forget walking into the comic shop. There was a shop around the corner from where I worked in Kenner, New Orleans. And I'm not going to go into what we usually call the woman, but the woman who ran the thing was already jacked the price up on the sucker.
Was this that shop on Napoleon?
Yes, called Family Comics. And it's not like I'm hurting their business. It's not in business anymore anyway. And I said,
they've been in business for years.
Screw that. I went down to my good friend Carl Tupper, the great legendary dear friend Carl Tupper, rest his heathen soul, and BSI Comics. And of course, I told him about that, and he laughed at it. And of course, I got it at cover price. And back then, cover price was not what you would have been today for sure. So yeah, a lot of memories here, and I'm sure I still have it somewhere. So yeah, great cover. Frank Miller and Lynn Varley. I'm sure did the colors on it because he married her, right? So,
for a while anyway.
Yeah, for a while there. 20. I think this is my 20. I'm always going to get the number.
No, sir, it's your 19.
You, Mr. Smarty Pants. Thanks, man, because I forget stuff. I did it, but I did it to Flash all the time, too. I'd say, what's the number again, Flash? And he never stood. So, anyway. All right, bud, thank you. It is my number 19 would be, well, let's just show it, because you're all probably going to think I'm a big silly pants, but no, you're not, because if you don't love John Romita, what are you doing here? And there's so many great covers by John Romita. The Spider-Man 100, to me, is just, it's sort of like a whole bunch of his covers piled into one in a sense, even though it doesn't have some anniversary issues would literally have background covers, previous covers in their background with cover, like Batman 200 did or something like that. But this one, man, it's something haunting about it. I always loved it. And again, iconic is the pose for Spider-Man, of course, and it's been used many times. But just the background of it, the black background, one of the silhouettes back there, or the faces back there, not silhouettes, sorry. You're the artist, not me. But yeah, I don't know. I've just always loved this cover. Are there better ones? I mean, there are a lot of them that stand out. It's tough to pick a great Romita cover because I want to pick 50 of them, like I always say. That's a recurring theme here. But this one is special to me. And yeah, it is just stand out. So now we're at 19. Or we're 18.
And then we're at 18.
18 for you, Seth.
Number 18. You did a shadow cover, so I figured I had to do a shadow. No, I didn't even know that you were picking one. And I know you actually hate this series. But for me, it was really cool because, as a kid, it's edgy. It was badass. And it was everything that you wanted in a comic book, but didn't want to tell your mom was ever in it. Because it was Howard Chaykin, and Howard Chaykin did lots of blood and lots of scantily clad women. And he did this miniseries, The Shadow, and it was 4-parters, and it was called Blood and Judgment. And the 4th issue of that had this really interesting cover where it's very graphic in the depiction of his trench coat, and it bleeds into the background. You can see the buildings there, and I just always really dug it. His 45s are now traded out for Uzis, and it was just a really striking cover and really dug it. And I dug the series, even though I realized and I love The Shadow, and it's not The Shadow, but it's kind of like a alternate timeline or Elseworlds version of The Shadow, maybe, where the Shadow merged with the Punisher.
Yeah, it could be something like that. And it was way ahead of its time for that kind of stuff. Although although he'd been doing that kind of thing with American Flag. Yeah.
And everybody he did one about this time called one was Times Squared, and did another one called Black Kiss. And if you ever read any of those, make sure you've got plenty of soap nearby so you can take a shower when you're done.
Oh yeah, I remember them both. Yes, indeed. But I've always liked I've never had a problem with his covers. I mean, I think the cover is excellent. So yeah.
It was always a very cool image. I love the way he drawn the Shadow. At the time, I wasn't that familiar with the character, so I didn't realize just how divergent from the actual character it really was. The red scarf is gone, and kind of how the stories, a shadow story lays out. This one doesn't, but it was an interesting story. It was a well-told story. It just didn't feel like a shadow story, but how he drew the character itself and the character that he did draw was pretty cool. And this cover was definitely a highlight of that.
Indeed. Also worked on by an old buddy that I told you about earlier, Mr. Richard Ory, had a lot to do with that cover. My number 18. Well, I'm gonna go iconic on you people. I don't know. I got it because this is it's one of the great iconic covers. And by the way, that doesn't mean I ever really base a lot of criteria on iconic, but there are going to be a few on there because it's legendary, but it's epic in a sense, and it's classic. And it is, of course, Captain America Comics #1 from 1941, because this a first issue cover has to convey what their comic book, what their character is all about. There are very few first issue covers that do it quite like this one. I mean, this is pretty much telling you right there. There he is smashing Spittler, the Yahtzees, and in all of its glory, all its Jack Kirby, and of course Simon and Kirby glory right there. It's just, especially for that time period, there were really no covers like it.
No, it's definitely ahead of its time. Yep. But Kirby was always ahead of his time.
That's true.
For the most part, he was always 10 years ahead of everybody. And stayed there till
that's true. Yeah.
Stay there until probably, I think the late 70s. Everyone finally started to catch up with him, but it took a while.
Oh, it sure did. That's very true there. Mando Mark, my old bud, good to see you there, sir. Great to see you popping in. Thank you so much for being here. 17, is it not right? Keep me on that straight and narrow, buddy.
Yep.
17 for you is, well, you tell us, and I'll show us.
Batman Adventures Holiday Special #1.
Nice.
It's just spooky. Bruce, anytime you get Bruce Timm drawing Batman is never a bad thing. And I love their version of Mr. Freeze. It took a character who was a garbage character. Let's it just is. He just was.
Yeah.
But they turned that character into something special. And then, if you ever needed, you talk about a cover that grab you once you read what's inside, the depiction of him on this cover, and then seeing Batman and Batgirl in his bell jar was always one that caught my eye. I always thought this was a pretty amazing cover.
Yes, God, he was so good at those covers on Batman Adventures. There's so many that I do love on that one. So it was great. And I agree with you absolutely about Mr. Freeze. Well, originally he was kind of a joke. Captain Cold, always got most of the press, let's face it, as far as your freezing villains were concerned. But they did an amazing job with him on Batman animated series, and it translated over into this comic. So great stuff. My number 17.
Mm-hmm.
Back to wraparound covers again. This is, of course, what am I doing? Batman number 250. Well, I always forget the issue number. Because here's why. Because Batman 238. I always forget the issue numbers for some reason. Again, another wraparound cover, Neil Adams. There's so many of these. Some of these covers are just fantastic for the DC 100-page spectacular specials. I don't know if you have any of those. I know it was before you were buying them, but I don't know if you ever went back and got any of them. I love these books. I would love. I mean, they're kind of. I think they're probably a little bit, maybe a little pricey right now. I don't know, but they have some of the coolest covers. Yeah. I have it though. I don't know if it's in the greatest shape, but I do have it. And just Neil Adams. Not a whole lot to talk about here, other than a Neil Adams crowd scene, and that's good enough for me. And of course,
the one thing that only ever got me about this whole cover, and I've loved this cover. I mean, I've seen this cover hundreds of times. It's a great cover. Sargon the Sorcerer? Who the hell?
I don't. I mean, he's very obscure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to write on the side of Superman, of Batman like that, right on the cover, not even on the back side of the cover. It's like, wow,
Well,
well that's a choice.
well, they were using these big 100 pagers to put a lot of reprints in, and they had acquired him. I believe I can't remember if he was Family or Fawcett or whoever Sargon was originally. I have a buddy of mine who's an expert in Golden Age, could tell us. But they had to reprint some of those stories every now and then, so they just threw a Sargon reprint in this one, more than likely. So it looks like, if I remember correctly. So, but yeah, great Neil Adams crowd scene, and I've never understood though why. Well, I guess it's because it's perspective, but Shadow Lass and Starboy from the Golden Age versions, I don't know why they're even there, or with Colossal Boy holding them in his hands. So it was a weird cover to me, but I always loved it. Yeah. Anyway, so your number, I believe, 16, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, we'll just get right to it. It's Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, number 101. What do you say? This is, believe it or not, no one would generally think this, but this is a John Byrne cover, and
yes,
and the use of basically turning the black into negative space, and the white becomes the pop. Just this has become a very famous cover that he's been asked to reproduce or reinterpret many times in commissions, just because it's so different from just about anything else he ever did. And I want to say he did this one other time for Web of Spider-Man, but I could be wrong. But it was just always something really cool to look and say, it's just black with a little bit of, with some white on it, to white squares to make buildings, and then you've got the outline of him with the feet and the spider and the eyes, and that's it. And but it totally works. And I don't know. We've often talked about how much you dislike the Byrne Fantastic Four outfits, but one of the things,
ones, yeah,
yes, but one thing that's never really been conveyed because of comic books' use of blue for highlights is the fact that those uniforms were never intended to be a darker blue with white. They were always intended to be black and white. And and so he at one point in time he was I think he was really against the idea of using blue as highlights. So instead of putting highlights on Spider-Man, he just made them all black. And this cover works in ways that many covers don't. And just really impressed with it. Even to this day, I think it's one of the best covers I've ever seen on a Spider-Man book.
It's so un-Byrne-like. You have to, I mean, you have to tell somebody Byrne did it, or if you don't see his name, he did sign it. But I mean, if you don't see that, you wouldn't just pick it out like you would pick out maybe one of the X-Men covers or what have you, or a Superman cover or an FF cover or something like that. You got to or an Alpha Flight. You look at it and go, who did this cover? Wow, that's weird. And when I saw Byrne way back when it came out, even I remember like, Byrne did that cover. That's not Byrne, is it really? Yeah, I had to double take on that, but it is, Chris, it's an amazing cover. Bit of my number, what am I at now? 17, 16, 15, 16. Yeah, I checked this time. My number 16 is one of the greatest comic books of the Silver Age, and this cover and there's the thing, sometimes if you love a comic book so much, the cover will stand out to you in a lot of different ways as well. Daredevil number 7 by the great Wallace Wood. We pay a tribute to him by calling him Wallace Wood because he is the way he liked it. I love this friggin' comic, and the cover just always. I mean, I had a shirt made of it. I love it so much.
Did you really?
Yeah, but he had a buddy of mine put it on a shirt for me. Either that or I bought the shirt. He made some different shirts, but yeah, I still have the shirt somewhere.
Claude?
I just no, actually no. Really? It was another friend of mine who makes shirts. You know what? I may have actually bought this. Maybe Graffiti did it, and I'm thinking of a different one. I had him do a couple like a note.
I don't know. I've never seen it. If Graffiti would have made it, I would have seen it. So this had to be homemade, but it's a very cool cover. No,
man, yeah, it's a great one of the greatest comics for me, I think, ever. Definitely of the Silver Age. I put it in the top 2 or 3 issues. But yes, it's just, and I don't know, man. Look at it. It's Wood. It tells you, why is Daredevil have any kind of chance against the Submariner? Spoiler alert, he doesn't. And it's one of the greatest battles ever.
It's wood, all right. I'm feeling all turgid over this cover.
We got a little MMS sign on there. MMS, sorry. And got a little newspapers on there. So yeah.
But I'm starting to think you actually have a thing against Daredevil and just really want to see Namor beat the crap out of him. This is the second cover we've had like this, sir.
I have two covers in comics where Namor beats the crap out of him. And that other one, though, it got really stupid because Daredevil beat him for some reason. It was dumb. At the end of this, for those who don't know, I'm spoiling it because it's one of the greatest scenes in comics history. Daredevil, Namor's rampaging, as he often did back then, and there are no superheroes around conveniently. And Daredevil has to stop him and tries to stop him. And, look at the power disparity there. It's ridiculous. But there's that last panel. Everyone, you've probably seen it somewhere, everyone. If you haven't, you should. Just the last page when he's got Daredevil beaten. He's down, but he's still holding onto his ankle, trying to stop Namor from going to kill people, and he thinks he's going to destroy stuff. And he's astonished at Daredevil's bravery and says, I have fought the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, and the Hulk. And yet none of them have showed the courage you have, the most vulnerable of all. To honor his fallen enemy, he decided, in Daredevil's name, he left instead of going on his rampage. Classic Marvel stuff right there, bud. Classic Marvel stuff. Love it. And now your number 15.
15. Unbeknownst, I have family up in the Pittsburgh area, and we would commonly go to this little mall in a little town. That's not even a little town. It's kind of like a shopping area or suburb of the city of Pittsburgh, known as Monroeville, and they have a mall there. The mall's actually quite famous.
Yes, it is. I know it.
And the little movie was actually filmed in this mall called Dawn of the Dead.
That music's very good.
Anyway, inside the mall was a comic book shop, and parents went to the mall one day and saw the shop, so I went in, and they would go off and do whatever they were going to do, and I would go into the shop and would just stay there for however long they could be in the mall for hours, and it wouldn't matter. It was a really cool shop, especially for like a mall store, and this one book was there, and I was just stricken by the illustration that was on there, even as grotesque as it is. Just the amount of artistic talent involved. It was comic from PC Comics. They were reprinting a lot of the old EC stuff and or eerie and creepy stuff. And this was Bernie Wrightson's Master of Macabre #4. And I just love this cover, like I said, as grotesque as it is. His rendering on this very almost mummified but living body with the wrapping on it just caught my eye. And I love the fact that they misspelled Bernie, and looking just it's just a great image, and it was like, wow, that's really grotesque, but I dig it so much. And this was one of the books that I bought on that day, and I was like, I just got to have this. This is awesome. And I just always loved the image. And the inside was definitely a collection of black and white and color work that he had done on Creepy Magazine for back in the EC Comics days. And they were just republishing it.
I remember this and bought a number of those issues, so I do remember this series very well. Great cover. Well, gotta love Wrightson. We might see some of his work again. You never know.
We might.
He was quite the cover artist there. So, my number 15. Again, look, this whole list is just going to be sappy, sentimental stuff, ladies and gentlemen. But what can I say? I'm sure you're all so shocked to see the Legion of Superheroes again. The only Jim Aparo cover ever for Legion of Superheroes. And my favorite Legionnaire, not named Superboy and Monel, of course, has always been Wildfire. I've always loved this cover. I love the comic. They finally, this is after years, gave him an origin. And it was pretty good. It was a pretty good one. It's a fun story. I forget, it was Jimmy James or Howard Bender to the interior. I can't remember. But again, seeing Aparo do a Legion cover, and there are far more beautiful Legion covers than this, but there's always something about this one. I like the way it was set up, and what the hell, I love Jim Aparo, and I wanted to have an Aparo cover on here, and I wanted some Legion on here, and that's about it. It's just this one really always this comic always meant the world to me. And remember I was telling you about my shirts? This is one of the ones I had my friend put on a shirt.
Nice.
A few years back. I had to make a few of them for me, and I need to get him to make some more. I need to be able to fit back into that shirt too.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of shirts like that.
Yes.
And I called Graffiti Design on a couple of shirts. It's like, hey, you carry this, you carry that, and it's like, yeah, but you need to drop 50 pounds before I'm going to put you in a shirt, boy. And I'm like, all right, I'll go lose the weight because I really like the shirts.
Well, it's worth it for that, yes.
Well, I used to wear that Maid shirt, the black one with the white lightning bolt on it.
Me too. I had that one.
I wore that thing to death. And,
I love that one.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's like, but we only got a 2X, not 3. Lose the weight, fat boy. And I'm like, okay, I will. I promise.
Well, now we have number 14 for you, I do believe.
Yep, number 14. This is actually not the first time this cover was drawn, but it was the first time it was drawn by this man. It's Alpha Flight number 17. This cover was originally a cover done by Dave Cockrum for Uncanny X-Men number 109. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I don't know if this was a deal that was made with Cockrum before Byrne took over, or if they just didn't trust Byrne with the cover to sell a book. But I don't like Cockrum's version, but it's nowhere near. It doesn't have anywhere near the power or dynamicism that the Byrne version does. And this was probably one of the first Alpha Flight books I picked up off the stand. I didn't read this thing from the beginning. I came in late, and it was sold on the just knocking that snot out of Wolverine there, and it just resonated with me as just being one of the coolest covers I had ever seen. And the difference between it and the Cockrum version is night and day. I almost think he almost did it as an FU to the people on the X-Men book, just to say this is what you would have had. Yeah.
Bankman, thank you for popping in, sir. Yeah, we're up to 15 already, but I'll definitely recap it afterwards. We'll have all the picks and everything too. But it's great to see you, my friend. Thank you for popping in here, sir. Always a pleasure. That is a great cover. I remember seeing it and remember noting exactly what you were just talking about from the Cockrum cover. And this is actually, yes, this one is better. I love the Cockrum one as well, though. Great stuff. Yeah, very cool. I remember I remember when Alpha Flight number 1 came out. I tried to talk the owner into not ordering too much. We ordered tons of it and ended up with a lot of copies, but it did do very well early on. So, that was 13, right?
Yeah, we're at your number 14.
My number 14. I'm going to go. I guess I'm just a broken record here, going iconic all the time. But this one definitely rates with some of the most iconic covers and historical covers. But it's also a great cover in so many ways. Another one I have. Maybe my whole wardrobe is on display tonight because I have a shirt of this one too.
This may come up again.
I would not doubt it. Now, went with a cleaner, like a background or a scan. I could have got one that was kind of more of a faded look to give it that nice back issue look that we all like, but I just went ahead with a cleaned up, like more bluer background, but blue, it doesn't really matter. This comic's iconic for so many reasons. It's the beginning of the FF's uniforms, costumes, if you will, because in the early letter pages after issue number 1 and even 2, the fans were very intrigued and loved the book, but they said if the superheroes, where's their damn quote unquote costumes? Of course, in this case, kind of like uniforms, and my favorite of all, I just love these uniforms, and we get to see the Fantastic Car. Again, it's there on the cover for you from the world's greatest magazine, comic magazine that is. We get introduced to the Fantastic Car, the costumes, all of it. And this one is just, one of the most iconic Marvel covers of them all. Enough said, sir. Unless you
Yes,
got something.
sir.
We'll let you speak of
Nope,
it
nope.
later. Not yet. No
Yeah,
comment.
no comment yet.
So 13, my friend. Go for it.
Well, since we're on the Fantastic Four, and yeah,
Yes. Speaking.
I also am a broken record, and I don't know if anybody knows this about me, but I'm a little bit of a John Byrne fan.
Oh, it's
And
just a rumor.
Anyway, one of the first issues he did was before he started inking himself was with Joe Sennett, and the cover to Fantastic Four number 220.
Love, love, love it. You know, well, you look, Byrne and Sinnott Fantastic Four is, I mean, I just adore it. I love Sinnott inking Byrne on FF, and I love this cover, man. Great choice. Beautiful.
They look like they're out of control. You have no idea what they're landing into or going to. Everybody's on display there. Get a little stretch out of Reed. It's a great cover. I mean, in the between the perspective and you've got the roof of the ship being all rounded off on the top. I've always loved this cover. This has always been a favorite of mine.
It is a special one. Love it, man. That's great. Great issue too. My number 13. The artist who did my next one, it would be he's a low hanging fruit because you could pick 1,000 of his covers that are just so amazing because he specializes in covers like some artists do, and that is of course this beautiful Alex Ross cover from Astro City 1/2. Astro City, and I've done a show about it. Is what's it? Mando Amazing Spider-Man Annual Volume number 20, great cover art. I'll take a look at that one, man. It doesn't strike a bell off the top of my head. I don't know if it does with Mark, but I'm sure it is a great one. We will take a look at it. Amazing Spider-Man Annual Volume 1, number 20. Is that the John Romita Jr. cover? But I can't remember. Maybe
I'm not sure.
Well, we'll definitely take a look at it, man, because I like hearing. By the way, I like hearing the covers you all like as well. Let us know what you think of. If you've got some covers you guys like as well. This is one, in my opinion, and I've of course did a show with my buddy Carlos about one of the greatest comic books ever written, ever done over the past 25 years in all of history. In my opinion, Astro City. This is probably the greatest story from Astro City, and the greatest single story. The one issue when they did. The original cover, this is the alternate cover. The original was by Britt Anderson. The only time Anderson ever did an Astro City cover. All of them were by Alex Ross, who co-created the series with Kurt Busiek. And it's one of my all-time favorite things ever. This story is the one you may all have. Maybe if you've all been reading comic books a while, maybe you all have a comic book that made you cry at some point. Maybe you have two. I don't know if you have any at all. If you don't, you're a heartless bastard. No. But this one makes me cry every time. And I like the Anderson cover, but it's kind of weird, because all the covers are by Ross except for that one, which I have that one though. But this one, when Ross went ahead and did this one, is just special to me. The Nearness of You story, Astro City 1/2, which was a special. You had to get it at a Wizard. You couldn't get it on the stands at that time when number 1 came out back in 95 or whatever it was. 95, yeah. So there are tons of Astro City covers I could have put on this list, but there are a lot of other ones I want. This one's probably my favorite of all of them, but there's so many great Astro City covers. It's just the tip of the iceberg. So now your number, what are we?
12.
Are we 12? Okay. Go for your number 12, sir.
My number 12, 1986. DC decided they were going to run 85. They ended it all with Crisis on Infinite Earths. And to some people, we won't name who, that was the end of DC Comics. But to others of us, I stopped being a Marvel zombie, and at that point became a DC fan pretty much for life. And because it was ground floor, I could get in and really read the origins and find out more adventures of these heroes from the beginning, without having to deal with 50 years of continuity. And one of the books that was redone was Wonder Woman. And it was done both interiors and the cover by the great George Perez.
Wraparound cover alert. Wraparound cover alert.
Some covers are iconic, some covers tell a story, and some covers do both. And if you'll look at this cover, there's very iconic aspects of it. And if you keep going, I mean, you kind of get the entire origin of Themyscira leading up to Wonder Woman, in that you have Ares at the top, and then you can see Hippolyta being enslaved, and then of course the if you know anything about the story of Themyscira, the Amazons freed themselves from man's rule and decide to go at it alone, so to speak. And she creates Diana out of clay, and grows up and has a competition to become Wonder Woman. And if you look at it, it's all pretty much there on the cover.
Yeah, that's true.
So this one does both. It's very iconic, tells a story, and George Perez draws a pretty sexy looking Hippolyta there, even though I'm not necessarily into the chains thing, but the rest of it's pretty amazing. And his run on this book was by far my favorite run of Wonder Woman ever done. All the way up through War of the Gods, 70-something issues. It was pretty good book, even when he wasn't drawing it anymore. It was still very well written. And but this cover, it was one of those. It's like, okay, I guess I'm reading Wonder Woman. I can't imagine me reading Wonder Woman, but I kind of feel like I need to be reading it now. So I picked it up and wasn't upset about it at all. I was like, wow, this is really good. Steve Trevor was no longer a love interest. They didn't want to do the kind of the sappy thing, but by making him a basically the love interest sidekick, or the dude in distress. So they aged him up so that he would be more of a friend and a contemporary, but as opposed to as a tag along. But it wound up being a really good book, and this cover really kind of kicked it off for me. And as a wraparound cover, it doesn't get much better than this as far as wanting to grab your eye and saying, I need to read this book. Yeah.
Well, it's a great series and great cover. Venkman was pointing out about that FF 220 you had? Cover that, yes, 220 and 221 was originally supposed to be some sort of mail away for the Coca-Cola, but they didn't like it, and it was reworked to be a regular 2 issue. There was a poster though. I still have the poster hanging on my wall.
That's interesting to know. I did not know that.
Yep, there's a Byrne Sinnott origin poster that is it's beautiful, and I still have it on my wall. That what they did is the Coca-Cola promotional thing, big old poster of it. It tells this basic origin story of the FF by Byrne and Sinnott. If you ever can track that sucker down, I love it.
And I didn't know it existed. Now I've got something to find on eBay.
I'll try to look up a pic for you if you can't find it and identify it for you. And I don't know what it would go for. Probably nothing. I don't know, but I do love that sucker.
Yeah, so it's not one of my covers. It was a variant cover, and it's not on my list. But I think it was within the last 3 or 4 years. You want to talk about an origin cover? Alex Ross did the origin cover for the FF.
Yeah.
That's a good cover.
Were you talking about the FF #1 cover redo he did?
No.
Or you just talking about an origin thing where he did the
it's got the 4 of them kind of in a row, and then I think you see the rocket ship going off and all of them doing their powers in the background. It's got kind of an orange hue to the whole thing, and it's
amazing.
It's the bomb diggity. It really is. But it's not on my list. Like I said, I kind of had criteria that I went with, but it was
sure. Well, it's amazing. Yeah, great stuff. No, I know what you mean. My number 12 is another big one, a big gigantic treasury bombastic classic. Jack Kirby's Captain America's Bicentennial Battles. Much like Captain America #1 cover, this shows you, you were talking interestingly about that Wonder Woman cover. It kind of tells a story, not quite as elaborately as that one does, but it shows Cap all over the place. This was 1976. I remember when I bought this thing, it just blew me away. Actually has a Kirby story in there inked by Barry Windsor-Smith, which I'm sure you know. And it is just, I love the book, and this cover just always, because there's so many great Kirby Cap covers. I mean, I wouldn't know. It's tough to know where to start or where to pick a fave. So this one kind of just, I could pick, if I just did a whole show just about Kirby's Bronze Age covers that he did, especially for Marvel, but they're great ones for DC, this would be at the top of them. I love his Bronze Age covers. Good God. I mean, obviously, I love his interior work and the silver. I love everything about Kirby. You know that. But something about those Bronze Age covers he did when he went back to Marvel, especially. And this one, man, it gets me every time. Love this cover.
No, this is a great cover. Doing a montage is never an easy thing. He pulled it off super well. And it saddens me only to know that this was the period of time where a lot of people were not appreciating Jack's work. In fact, he had a pretty nasty nickname for that time period, which always enraged me whenever I hear it. Because some people will say it to this day and meaning, oh, you mean Jack the Hack? And I'm like, you got to have to leave my presence for a few minutes while I get over this. Yeah. Well,
yeah, I remember.
There comes a point in time where you've done so much work that you find yourself kind of on cruise control. And I think Jack was doing that. And I think there was some of this. He came back to Marvel, wasn't happy to do it. And, but I don't think he was ever did a work that was unprofessional. He may not have been as interested in as he was before he left to DC, but I always thought everything he did was pretty damn solid.
Oh, absolutely. And again, there was something about those covers. I mean, they knew. I mean, they call them what they want, but they knew that they could sell a Kirby cover. And yes, Venkman, if you look up the variant cover, the third Lee Kirby omnibus, Alex Ross origin piece. Okay, that you were talking about. Good. Thank you, Venkman. Appreciate that, sir. Excellent, sir. Number 11 for you, sir.
Just a very iconic cover from my era of collecting comics. It's probably about 10 years after you, but it's the Captain America Annual number 8 by Mike Zeck.
Yes, I remember this one well.
Wolverine versus Captain America. I've seen it on T-shirts. I've seen posters. Mike Zeck still sells prints to this day through the roof. The book sells big, and a lot of it has to do because Mike Zeck did one hell of a cover on it. You're just like, whoa. You gotta see that. I gotta know what this fight is about. Sadly, the interior I don't think is as good as the cover.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite Zeck covers. And I'm not someone that liked it. It was big on Zeck enough, but I always loved this cover. It's amazing.
I've always been a Zeck fan. Anybody that can make sense out of Jim Shooter's script for Secret Wars and turn in a book that was coherent was is A-okay in my book. And his cover, you want to talk about great covers. The covers he did for Punisher were pretty amazing too. For the miniseries. Yeah,
actually, there were some good, were some excellent covers. I do believe we're hit my number 11. Broken record time because I'm going super iconic this time. I'm going Stratosphere iconic, and the top 2 or 3 all-time iconic covers of them all. Fantastic Four number 1. I mean, is there a cover more parodied, copied, just aped than, if there is one, I don't know about it. And you might say Action 1, you might say Detective 27. I don't know, but it's right there with those 3 as the most iconic covers. And I think this one gets parodied. Well, I mean, necessarily made fun of, parody, yes, but also aped and homaged, if you will.
Byrne did at least. Byrne, I think, has done at least 4, maybe 5 homages to this cover. One for no less than House and Gardening.
Oh my God! It's a classic. It's a classic. I know he did one for What If. What if the Fantastic Four didn't have superpowers? I mean, there's so many.
He's got one where instead of Gigantic coming out, it's him. He's the one cracking out of the ground.
There are millions of them, dude. Bazillions of the. And again, it just shows how big this cover is. And I have a great big Alex Ross poster of this that I had framed for a while. The frame broke off, but yeah. Hang on one second, man. What's up? Good. I'm sorry. You there?
I'm here.
Okay, sorry about that, everyone. Take a shoe. But no, it was It's a classic, and not much you can say about this that has not been said already. So go on to yours, sir. Your number. Are we at 10? We're at 10.
We're at the top 10.
All right, everybody, we're in the big top 10 now. It's where the big boys are coming. Yeah, if you can't run with the big dogs, stay on the porch.
Not as old as the Fantastic Four cover, but I would say just as iconic. It was a cover done during the Uncanny X-Men run of Chris Claremont and John Byrne, and is usually attributed to Byrne, but this is not a Byrne cover.
No?
It is Uncanny X-Men 142.
Terry.
That, sir, is Terry Austin.
The great Terry. Probably one of the greatest inkers ever. He was so great.
A hell of an artist, too, because that's all him.
Yeah.
There's no Byrne there at all. And, I know the one with in front of the board showing deceased and missing, and with him and Kitty Pryde is always the one that everyone goes to for the Days of Future Past. But this to me was always my favorite cover of that time period. It was like, wow.
No, I don't blame you. It's a great cover, man. And Austin was amazing.
Yep.
Number 10. My number 10, this is a series that you've already referenced once, so why not? Let's do it again. This is one of the trippiest covers you're ever going to see by the great Jim Steranko, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Number 7. I mean, I love the cover you put up there, too. Out of those two, those would be easily my two favorites. Although I love the one with him in space as well. It was really tough not to do that one. But this was just the general weirdness of this cover. Always stood out to me, and he did not do this. He'd already left the book as far as interiors are concerned. Frank Springer had taken over at that point. I remember it was okay. Springer actually tried to do sort of a strength. He couldn't really, but anyway, But this was good God, this cover is so friggin' crazy.
My favorite issue of this book is actually a Frank Springer drawing issue. It's the Christmas one with the hate monger.
Wouldn't blame you. I mean, I have done I got the big omnibus of that Nick Fury omnibus real cheap at Second and Charles a couple years ago.
Well, I originally saw the story. It was in one of the Christmas Treasury editions, so I got to get it real nice and big.
Nice. Yeah.
But this got a lot of Salvador Dali to it almost.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it was purely Steranko. Probably was, but he's got a slash behind his name. And I tried to look into it. It doesn't list anyone else. And, I think it's all Steranko. There were times he was inked here and there, but for the most part, he did his own covers. So, number 9, sir.
Number 9. Well, since we love John Byrne so much, and since we love the Fantastic Four so much, I want you to understand, I love the Fantastic Four. I love the Kirby Lee run. I love the John Byrne run. And during John Byrne's run, he released my single favorite comic book of all time, single issue. And this was the cover, and the cover is what sold me to the first issue I picked up in the run. I started on this late and then went back and got them all. It was the Fantastic Four 260.
I remember it well.
And you're just like, whoa, that's Dr. Doom's mask in the rubble. And it's like, whoa. And you just had to pick it up. And then you get inside, and you've got, it has everything but Reed Richards in it. Otherwise, everything in the kitchen sink's in it. It's an amazing, amazing book. And Byrne was at his peak, even though it's got the costumes you're not happy with.
Yeah, I was pretty unhappy at this point. I was close to dropping it, I think. Actually,
there was just the way the book was laid out, the storytelling, the story it told was just incredible. And to see the three of them look at Doom's mask lying there in the rubble, smoldering, was just really just caught my eye, and I was like, I got to read this. I mean, even more so than the cover for Secret Wars, where Doom's all busted up. This one caught my eye.
Yeah. Well, I remember it well. It is a fine cover. I think he did at that time. I just was really didn't like him inking himself, but I think he did some extra effort on his covers for sure. So, and again, it's just amazing. It's a very memorable cover as well.
Yeah. Well, this has got the Silver Surfer in it, Tyros.
Yeah.
I believe it leads into a story that goes into Alpha Flight with Submariner. I mean, it's all over the place, but it's got so much in it. And, there was a period where Doom was dead and then he comes back, but he's in someone else's body.
Yeah.
Spoilers. But this is the issue that happens. And basically you have Tyrus and the Surfer battling it out, and they are just whooping the snot out of each other. And Burns' work on Silver Surfer, I would put up against Kirby, and I'd put up against Buscema as some of the best Silver Surfer artwork ever done. And there's a couple images in there. I think this is the book that steals the Byrne image for the Joe Satriani cover. Surfing with the Alien?
I don't know.
I think it's from this issue. But this is my single favorite issue, my favorite single issue of any comic book ever done. I've owned it. I think I've got 3 copies of this thing now.
I did not know that.
It's my Catcher in the Rye, sir.
Well, we'll have to talk about it in depth one day. I'll have to reread it first. And we can talk about it.
It's a 3-part story. I highly recommend it. It's very good.
Well, I've been wanting to do a favorite comic book stories thing, so that's the thing to consider when if you can another listing or whatever. So there you go. That was your number 9, right? That was your number 9. Okay, excellent. My number 9 is this little gem that when I saw it on the rack, and here we're back to the wraparounds again. I've been saying that a lot tonight because that's what these covers are all about. This one really just knocked my socks off. And the interior is great. This is one of the best anniversaries of any comic book ever. Justice League number 200. Great Perez cover. A lot of great guest artists on the interior. It's a really good story. Been a while since I've read this one, actually. As you can see at the top, listed all the different artists for the interior. This is one of the best, because sometimes you'll have occasionally they would have an underwhelming cover on an issue 100 or 200 or 300 or what have you, and it would be like, man, come on, do something big for a 200 or something like that. Do something big for an annual. This is like an annual. This is even more so. It's 200, and for example, Perez did the cover for Avengers 200. It was okay, but they really didn't go all out on that one. And of course, he was getting kind of tired of it. Well, he goes over to DC and does this, and man, just incredible. And one of my favorites. It's a busy cover. I always like Perez is the greatest crowd artist ever, probably, I think, or one of them for sure. He's the greatest superhero crowd artist, or one of them. And he could do a great busy cover because he can do a great fighting cover. Well, you had one of his wraparounds up there with a Wonder Woman cover. He could tell a story with the cover. His covers can be very Kirby-ish in there, that they move around and have a lot of action on them. In the sense, even though it doesn't look, I'm not saying it looks like Kirby, but you know what I mean. It moves like it. So love this one.
Yeah, sadly he didn't stay on Justice League very long.
No.
They enticed him to go over to Teen Titans, and he kind of fell in love with the characters. He actually had a hand in creating, and that kind of became his baby for the next several years.
Did a few good little stories though on there, but you're right, nowhere near enough, man. Nowhere near enough.
Nope.
Your number 8, sir.
Number 8. Well, this goes back to Bernie Wright's, and then the amazing creation him and Lynn Wayne created. My favorite cover of any Swamp Thing book ever done, and Swamp Thing number 9. It's probably the iconic image of Swamp Thing ever done.
It could well be. It is incredible. And that's saying something for Wrights and covers, because you could just make a list of 20-something great Wrights and covers, and a lot of them would be Swamp Thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I'm the chat unfortunately isn't aware, but I sent you a picture as I went through the other day and pulled out all of my artist editions. And I'm up to 15. And
you did? Yes, nice.
Yeah, one of them is the Bernie Wright's Swamp Thing, and this particular cover is in there. And to see it full size, looking like an actual art piece, like the actual board, it's pretty incredible to look at. Nice
stuff, man. Well, I love it. I do love it. And again, we could see Mr. Wrightson again. You never know. My number 8 8 is Mr. Neil Adams. Will pop up again, of course. The one that we were talking about earlier, how he doesn't like this cover, but I dearly love it. It's a classic. Again, I guess I'm a broken record because I just maybe I'm just a sucker for an iconic cover. I've always loved this one when I first saw it in my when I was a very very youngster. From in the book Superman from the 30s to the 70s, and of course this was the beginning of something called the Sand Superman saga with the great Denny O'Neil, and was the great Swanderson team of Kurt Swan and Murphy Anderson, and it was I love the Sand Superman saga, and these Adams covers were just terrific. They really were, and he could not like it, but man, this is just one of the great Superman covers to me.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I don't think the chat was in on it. This is a conversation we had before we started, and the deal is that Neil doesn't like this cover, and he's like, "This is one of the worst covers I've ever done." And one of the reasons why he hates it so much, he's like, "They made me go in. They made me push his legs apart to fit in the dialogue, to fit in the words, Kryptonite Nevermore in between there, and." So his stance is all wrong, and the perspective on the legs are too long and too far apart. And he says the anatomy is just bad, it's just terrible. And I'm like, yeah, but and you look at him, you're like, you're crazy. This is one of the coolest covers ever. And but he's not a fan. He's not a fan of this work. He actually, I think, for Comic Artist magazine, he redid the cover, had Alex Ross paint it, and he got to correct the legs.
Oh man, hey Neil, the customer's always right, baby, and it's great. Oh man, that was 8. So you're number 7, sir.
Number 7. I mean, at this point, pretty much every cover we're going to pick is going to be some iconic to us in some way, shape, or form.
Pretty much.
And most of them will be iconic to everybody. I mean, it's Avengers number 57 by John Buscema, Behold the Vision.
Classic.
I mean, it may be one of the best Avengers covers ever done. I mean,
classic stuff.
Byrne aped it on Avengers West Coast later on when he changed the Vision up to all white. He was showing his privilege then, but
yeah.
But at this point, this is the beginning of the Vision, and that particular image is it's just always been a great cover. There's just no two ways about it.
Great comic too, one of the classics. I love the Vision, and I love that era right there. It was wonderful. It was one of the most amazing Avengers runs there was. So yeah, great one, man. I guess we're just gonna keep going with my wardrobe, dude, because we've got another shirt cover for me. I have this one. I think I had this one. I've had this one twice. And it is Captain America 110 by, Jim Steranko, although the face may have been redrawn. Some say it was redrawn by Marie Severin. Or
I don't think so.
Or Ramita, but this one, I think, I may have got this scan of one that kind of put the Steranko cover back, face back to it. I'm not sure. No. Yeah. I'm thinking of a different cover. Forget about me. I'm old, man. This may not be the one. To hell with it. But you know what it was? It was definitely my shirt, though. Go ahead.
Yeah. It definitely looks like a Steranko face.
Yeah, it is. I'm thinking of a totally different, because it was one he was really upset about. Oh, now I remember. Sorry, I got it backwards. I know it's a different cover. Anyway, and we'll see it later. But no, yeah. So forget all that. Just remember, everyone, shirts. This is another shirt cover that I wore around. I remember, where was I? I was out somewhere a couple of years back wearing a shirt, and a dude said, "Oh man, that's great. That's Jack Kirby, right?" And I said, "No, but fairly close enough, I guess. We can let you slide on it." But I told him who it was, of course, and of course, the young man. I'm glad he knew who Jack Kirby was, but he didn't really know who Jim Steranko was.
I got to meet Jim Steranko back in January for the first time ever. It was a religious experience.
Nice.
First of all, there are very few people in comic books who exude being a gentleman. And Steranko does that. However, you could tell during his heyday, he was very suave, very probably very handsome man. He still dresses very, very dapper. His hair is always, he's got a perfect coif of hair. And as we sat there and tried to visit him, he spent more time with my, well, now ex-girlfriend than he did with me. But I did get a few words in. So anyway, I have a trade that's of Jim, so I don't have to mess up any individual issues of the Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's all the Steranko issues, and he autographed that for me. It was very
nice. The time I met him, I didn't get the chance to talk to him hardly at all because there were like a whole bunch of people at the table. But still, it was, it was Steranko, so that was something at least. Number 6. I believe you were on your number 6, sir.
Yeah, if you've heard me on any of these, and you've heard me sing the praises of Wallace Wood and the science fiction work he did for EC Comics, in talking about how probably one of the most underrated artists of all time, should have drawn Flash Gordon, should have been on Flash Gordon for like 20 years anyway. This particular cover kind of displays what it is that I love about him. This was EC Comics Incredible Science Fiction number 33. And oh man,
beautiful. We both had some Wallace Wood on here. This was one of my favorite of his covers too. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I just love it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Beautiful. I just love it. I mean,
it wasn't easy to find a scan of that either, dude. I'm glad I was able to, because man, it's just incredible.
Yeah, it's actually easier to find black and white version than it is the color.
That is true, but we got one, so. Yeah. But yeah, it's great though. That is just amazing. Well, my number 6. Yeah, back to wraparound time, and back to Mr. Adams. Superman number 252. Yes, I know it's superheroes flying again. Sue me, but they're sure fly well. Even ones who can't fly are flying. So
I hear the Super Friends theme playing in the background.
Yeah, this is, I mean, just every way you just slice it here. It's just, I love it. I mean, it's got Superman as big as day. Well, because that I have it, of course. This is one of my, again, as I said earlier, I love these DC 100-page shots, super spectacular giant thingies. Even though this was actually, it was Superman 252, but they did that in regular books, and they did individual books for the just 100, whatever. 100-page giants, and they are fantastic. So not much to say about that. Just love it. And let's go to your number 5, right? 5.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can put it up because we've been here once before tonight.
Yes, we have.
It's the Fantastic Four number 3. I put mine a little higher on the list, but it is the classic. It is the classic image of the Fantastic Four as early as issue 3. You got the Fantastic car. You got, and it's not the crazy one you got from later. It's the old bathtub, which I love. Yes. And you've got all 4 members of the Fantastic Four. The city in the back. I mean, it is probably the greatest Fantastic Four cover ever done. I love this cover. I just, and Venkman said made mention that Alex Ross did a version of this. Venkman, if you get a chance, look up John Byrne's commissions, because he did a commission that was a reinterpretation of this cover as well. It's really nice. But as far as covers go, I've tried to draw this thing and trying to make sure because Kirby's anatomy belongs to Kirby and not to many other people. Trying to get everything the way it's supposed to be in this cover is pretty damn tough. Mostly because the cover works. The cover works because Kirby drew it. But if you try to draw Sue Storm the way Sue Storm is drawn there, it doesn't work. Only Kirby can do it. Only Kirby can do it. But it absolutely works. And very seldom did you get to see ever any kind of, even though it's looks kind of limited here, but the detail underneath the fantastic car. I just love this cover. I think it is. If I was to say, oh, I'm going to take some of my comic books and turn them into T-shirts, this would be one that I don't even own the comic book. I couldn't afford this comic book even if I wanted to. But God, what a beautiful cover!
Yeah, it's amazing. Also, I should give credit to the inker Dick Ayers. It is truly just, well, everything you said is just marvelous. It is fantastic. And it was, of course, the beginning of the well-earned, the greatest comic magazine in the world. Though later they would change it, but the world's greatest comic magazine. So,
amen.
Yeah, love it, man. Love it. Love it. We're kind of FF fans here, in case any of you hadn't wondered. Yes, imagine that. My number 5. Yeah. Okay, another wraparound. Sue me, guys. And okay, another bunch of superheroes. But I love the Legion of Superheroes.
You know what? You use all these wraparounds, and I think you're trying to cheat because not only are you doing covers, you're doing back covers too. And I think you're trying to get two for one out of these deals. And I'm just saying, I'm a little upset about this.
Didn't you have you had a wraparound? So
I had one.
It covers the cover, brother, and they're connected. They just folded it. It's a folding. Jim Starlin classic.
Fine, we'll let it go.
Well, this was during my wonderful Mike Grell era of the Legion of Superheroes, which I love, and was still, of course, called Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, and a wonderful title. Even though at this point, I think this is a reprint, but it doesn't matter. In fact, I know it is. And yes, no, they're not on Mars, by the way. That's not Tars Tarkus. He only has 2 arms. But they sure kind of did a little homaging there to John Carter, didn't they? Or Starlin did. So, again, not much can be said about it other than I just always just freaking love this cover. Remember when I got it, I'm like, I didn't see the back till later. I just thought it was a typical back of comic. I got home. I go, wait, there's no ads on the back. What is this wraparound thing you have, Bill? Oh, yeah. So, yeah. Always thought, and I've seen this. Someone had taken this and got rid of all the words and made a nice poster out of it. So, love it.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we? We're at number 4. Number 4, sir. Go ahead.
All right, number 4, 1986. For you, this would have been painful, and I'm sorry. But for me. Yeah, but for me, the information that John Byrne was leaving Marvel and going to DC to do Superman broke the internet before there was an internet. I mean, it rocked the comic book world because he was on top of his game. He was Kirby, he was Neil Adams, he was the man. At the time, he decided to bail on Marvel and go to DC to do Superman. And I waited like 6 months for after the end of the Incredible Hulk for the first issue of his run on Superman to come out. And after we got Alan Moore's swan song to the Silver Age Superman, the miniseries that kicked off Byrne's run finally came out, and you could only get this issue at the comic book store, but it was the coolest cover ever, so much so that I actually painted it and still have the painting to this day. It's the direct market cover to Man of Steel #1 by John Byrne.
And it's tricky because to find this one, I remember I had it, sold it and all that stuff. But I mean, they have so many different, they have other scans of the other cover out there, but good old mycomicshop.com. So there, yes, you like that one, huh? I like it. It's a good cover.
It's a very good cover. Not to be confused with the Man of Steel series that came out just a couple of years ago by a particular writer who seems to not understand. But you think this was bad, man? This is a warm tropical breeze compared to the Superman they got on the shelves today.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I remember those Venkman. Venkman's talked about the covers by I remember Ken Stacy. He was a good artist.
Yeah, Ken Stacy did them, and
some good covers.
There was a budgeting other painted artist who did some covers for Now, as I recall too. Somebody we may see before the end of this night.
Oh, could be. Wow, that's possible. Where bees we now? Okay, unless if you're not done though, you may continue.
Well, no, I mean, we did a whole episode on Superman. If you want to hear me talk about it, just go back and watch the episode.
I got you. You never talk about Superman too much.
It's John Byrne. It's Superman. We'll be here all goddamn night if I start now. So just go on to your cover.
Yes, we'll bitch about that later. Let's see. My number 4 is we're back to, well, why not just show it back to Mr. Steranko? And this is what I was talking about where the face got messed with a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. King size special Hulk number 1. My God. I mean, we'll just look at it. And again, another cover that's been aped all to hell a few times.
Mostly with the Hulk?
Mostly with the Hulk. Yeah, true. But this is just spectacular. I mean, Steranko, what's crazy about it, again, he was doing Cap. He was doing Big Fury. He was doing some other stuff. And then he just all of a sudden he did a lot of covers though. And I don't think he ever did any Hulk interiors. Pretty sure he did not. But he also did, I have his 2-volume Steranko History of Comics, by the way, the originals. Those are great. He did that. But yeah, just out of nowhere, I left. Here he comes. One of his most iconic covers. I don't know why. I mean, I love the Fury covers we were looking at and the Captain America cover, but something about this one, it's just incredible, so to speak.
By the way, speaking of artist editions, I have the Jim Steranko Captain America one as well.
Love it.
I thought about taking that to get signed. The problem is I didn't want to have to carry the damn thing all day. It's so big and heavy. Because it's not even like regular comic board size. It's like twice up when they were using like giant pages. And it's so heavy. I mean, it's a workout. And then the idea of carrying around all day, there's no way. I couldn't do it.
Well, I got you there. Our good buddy Eastland Burkholder, thank you for popping in. Great to see you, my friend. Always. And Smart Steve 68, thank you for popping in as well. Absolutely great to see you all here. I really appreciate it. Let's go for your number 3, sir.
Top 3,
man.
The day that I was in Monroeville and I bought that Bernie Wrightson Master Macabre issue, I found another comic book, and I'd never even heard of this before. So I missed the entire first story and had to go back and get it later. But I have this affinity for 30s action pulp characters and science fiction. And this cover that just sung to me of everything that I loved about the 30s, all on one cover. Deco styling, cool looking character. So it just bled 30s. And then you go inside and the interiors were just mind-boggling gorgeous. And again, it was just I have to have this issue today. I've had it several times. I have the a variation of the artist edition. I've got the slipcase version of it. And in fact, even though it's a slipcase, I have the original 2 collected graphic novels of it. And this cover was so cool, they put it on the slipcase. And it's the Adventure Rocketeer magazine #1 from Comico.
Love it. What a great cover. Good God.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I was like, what? I don't know what this is, but I got to have it. And that's what it was. I don't know what this is, but I got to have it. And just one of the greatest covers I've ever seen in my life to this day. So it well earns the spot in number 3.
Well, it's wonderful. Bless you, the late great Dave Stevens, by the way. Nice dude, great artist. Love Rocketeer. And that man, on just the existence of a scant, very few comic books, got a movie made about his character, which of course was great. And
yep,
you can't say that about too many characters. So,
it didn't even start out as a real comic book. It was a backup story.
It was a backup in Star Slayer. I mean, when I bought Star Slayer #2, I bought it for Grell. I didn't know what this Rocketeer thing was, and I'm like, whoa. God, it was just great, man. It's just great stuff. Love it. Number 3 for me. Let's talk about Mr. Wrightson again a little bit. How about Swamp Thing #7? My God, this cover has just always just been inside of my head forever. Because again, is it his greatest Swamp Thing cover? I'm not necessarily saying it's prettier than the other ones, but look who's there. I mean, it's a great issue as well. The interior by Wrights, and oh my god. But Swamp Thing and Batman. I mean, there you go. It's just something about at this point with the character, he'd always been in swamps, and now he goes to Gotham City. And well, not much to be said. This is a classic.
Yep.
But then again, like I was saying earlier, there's so many great, Swamp Thing covers by Wrights, and I just love it. And again, there's a superhero on it, so surprised. I love it. We are at, oh man, look, we're at number 2 for you, sir. So hit it.
Well, in the early 80s, and pretty much up until, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, the greatest Marvel comic out there has been considered the X-Men. And that pretty much started with Chris Claremont and John Byrne. And as I said, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm a bit of a John Byrne fan.
There's that rumor going around, yeah.
Anyway, at the end of Uncanny X-Men 132 is the famous shot of Wolverine in the sewer saying, "Now it's my turn." And you're like, oh, what is that going to be in issue 133? You couldn't wait for 133 to get here. It couldn't get here soon enough because you had to find out what Wolverine was going to do. And you didn't have to wait to read it because Byrne put it on the cover. And probably the greatest cover of ever of X-Men or of Wolverine, any cover containing Wolverine ever created. Uncanny X-Men 133 by John Byrne. I love this freaking cover. This cover, badass. There's no other way around it. This cover is badass. This is Wolverine in his glory, just taking everybody out. And it is by far my favorite piece of art that John Byrne has ever done. And I love other works that he's done other than his X-Men. I put his X-Men maybe about 3 or 4 on the book titles that he's worked on that I like. But this particular cover, it just does not get better than this. I mean, holy smokes.
If I were to pick a favorite X-Men cover of them all, buddy, I think I'd have to go with you. This is, and a favorite Wolverine, anything with Wolverine on it. This would be it. Good God, it's just, I was buying the book at the time regularly, but I was buying it off a spinner, and I always got it. I liked it. I was really liking the series, and if I missed one here and there, I was like, whatever. But I wasn't like following it that closely. When I saw this, well, had to have it. And when I read it, that's when a lot of people fell in love with Wolverine. Again, I'm not a big Wolverine guy right now. Never have been ever since that. Maybe I just kind of got tired of him. But this made me want to see more Wolverine. This was the coming out for his character.
Absolutely. This issue is the one that made the legend of Wolverine the legend that he is today. I mean, this is where it was born. And, he told you in the last panel of the last issue that it was coming, and he did not disappoint. The character came out and just completely kicked ass. It was amazing. And this cover is I had this autographed by Mr. Byrne himself. I got to meet him once in my life down in New Orleans. It was a pretty special day. I got to meet him and Bernie Wrightson in the same day. And he I must have brought a dozen books. He signed them all.
Nice.
He was very gracious. I hear a lot of stories about John Byrne being this ogre at comic conventions. I don't know. That's not the man I met. The man I met was very gracious and was very pleased to see somebody who enjoyed his work, and was happy to sign every book I put in front of him practically. But this to me is it doesn't get better than this as an X-Men book. It barely gets better than this as a comic book cover. So,
interior is pretty damn nice too.
Yep.
Yeah. Number 2 for me. I don't know, folks. I guess just because I love Superman and I don't know if Neil Adams has a problem with this one, but I'm putting it at number 2. This is, good God, I love this cover. I mean, this was a weird, Always thought it was a weird cover, but a great cover. And just how it just is Superman flying up from the city in a photo background. Good God, I don't know what it is. It's always striking. And no, I don't have a shirt of it yet, but I will. I'm gonna have it. I'm gonna have this shirt, dude. I'll have it. But yeah, I don't know. It's can't explain it, everyone. It's just this shirt. This shirt. See, it's a shirt. All these covers are shirts to me. I think I'm gonna give a shirt to that X-Men cover you just got to. I'm gonna get that one too. This is just phenomenal. It's
well, get two made. Maybe he'll do a discount if you get two made.
Yeah, I think I will. Well, I can get that on TeePublic pretty cheap, probably. So really? Probably. If they have that design, I think you can actually get them to make custom make crap on there now. I will look into
really?
It. Yeah. Whoa. And because they got what they do. Well, they got different artists and different people stuff. Well, I'll tell you about it later.
Yeah, that could be dangerous.
Yeah.
To my wallet.
Me too. It kills me, man. I get too many damn shirts. I don't have a lot to say about this one, folks. It's number 2. When you get into the deep up there, sometimes there ain't much to say other than this cover always wowed me by Neil Adams. And yes, I understand it's just a photo background, but man, who would have thought to use that? He did a couple times, actually. There was another one he did that was similar background, but this is the one. So, well, everyone, we're here, just like they used to say on the old or sing on the old Dr. Demento show. It's time for number 1. Everything. But I don't have that snippet to play you, so we'll just say it's time for number 1. I don't have a drum roll thing or anything like that. That's it. We have one now. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mark C. will tell us now is number 1 favorite comic book cover of all time. Go.
Well, we discussed this artist once or twice. I think he showed up on your list once, and
yes.
I made mention that he started out as a cover artist for Now Comics, and
that's true.
And speaking of T-shirts, not only was this on a T-shirt, but I owned it twice.
Me too. I have it once. Go ahead.
And when you want to talk iconic, I don't know that it ever gets more iconic than this. It's the cover to Superman Forever #1 by Alex Ross, and that's just mic drop. I got nothing.
It is fantastic. It is fan-freaking-tastic. Yeah, but please elaborate if you have anything. But you dropping the mic's fine, because what can you say? Look at it; it's beautiful beyond belief.
Very, very few times where you see an image of Superman and the John Williams music plays in the background in your head.
Yes,
it happens when you look at this one. And to me, that's a sign of amazing Superman work, is when John Williams plays in the background. And this cover just blew my mind. It was just like, I want it as a poster. I want it as a T-shirt. I want it as all my T-shirts. I want it as curtains and pillowcases and sheets and a comforter, wallpaper. Oh man, I've never. It's very seldom that an image strikes you so much that you just like that. That's it. That's Superman. That's it. I don't know anything else to say except he did it. He made the greatest Superman image of all time.
It's amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Well, great choice, man. Love it. I'm actually wearing my #1 on right now, and on a shirt I've had for maybe almost 10 years. It's all ripped to crap. It's all fucked up. So earlier this year, I ordered another one of it. I had another one.
All right. Well, show us the image. Don't show us the T-shirt.
I can't show you the T-shirt because I don't want to scare anybody. But I can show you the image. But maybe we should do a shirts list one day. So this is my all-time favorite. This is, of course, surprise, Fantastic Four #51. Jack Kirby, Joe Sinnott, one of the greatest comics of the Silver Age. This cover just makes me happy. And it should make me sad. This monster. But it makes me happy. And it makes my heart sing. The whole comic book does. And yes, I've heard Mr. Smarty Pants before say stuff like this. It's not really Ben on the cover there. No shit. We know. Doesn't matter. It's still Kirby drawing the Thing body and Senate. And it still gives you an idea. It still reflects the story. But again, I don't have much to say about this. There are so many great covers for the Fantastic Four. The Thing is my all-time favorite character, as many of you may know. Shocker, again. And Kirby's my all-time favorite artist, and he's my ultimate Thing artist, my ultimate FF artist. So put 15 and 15 together, and math is racist, but still. There you go. And this one is one of my all-time favorite comics. It's the one comic I'm not going to go into the sick, sad story of how I sold my FF collection with very few gaps from number 1 to like 250 many, many years ago in the 90s, because it'll make me want to kill myself on the air. However, I did keep some. I kept this one because I had this one signed by Jack Kirby himself, this comic on the inside. I still have it, of course. But, yeah, and it makes for one hell of a shirt. Love it. And let's see what this is. And there you all have it, folks. You have our top 25s. But we got a couple of things going. We got a couple of things going on in the chat there. Smart Steve 68. Can't see your shirt. Well, that's for the best, buddy. But you can see this picture; it's even better. So, and Eastland, yeah, that Wolverine cover is great composition. It is. It is,
dude. There's a reason why both of us are using avatars, not showing our mugs on this channel. I mean, it's not for anonymity. It's for your sake. Trust us.
He's being modest, folks. He's just so good looking. He doesn't want to drive all the ladies crazy. It's all there is to it. I mean, but that's the way it goes. We understand the humility of Mark. So, but now, anyone else have any favorite covers? I'd like to hear about them. You guys can put some in the chat now, or you can, of course, always reach me. And I have let's see here. Where am I at? I have a bunch of different links below, including the places to get in touch with me, everyone. And if you're just passing by and new to us, please subscribe and even hit that like button. Not that the like button matters too much here in this case, but you can even hit the dislike if you don't like our lists, if you just don't like us. Chris Persia, thank you, sir. Again, I'm so happy you were here. And I hope you all enjoyed this. And anyone listening to this later on a download, I hope you really enjoy it. I would like to hear you contact many of you because I learned while talking about this, Spider-Man 238. Amazing Spider-Man 238. Okay, Bankman, I need to look for that one. Moira Kitty, thank you for popping in. Spider-Man 238. Why does that ring a bell?
Everybody go out and look for the cover of Super Boxers.
Now, there's a cover. There is a cover and a half. You talking about the Sienkiewicz cover?
For the graphic novel?
Super Boxers? Oh, boy. Yeah.
John Byrne, Ron Wilson with a cover by, I think somebody else did the art. But was it Ron Wilson that did the art?
I think it was Ron Wilson, man. Could have swore it was Ron Wilson.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the back cover done. I think it's like Bob McLeod painting or something. But yeah, it's a great story. It really is.
238.
It is so outside the norm for what Marvel was doing at the time.
I remember that cover, Venkman. That is a good cover. It was a JR. I forgot who inked him on it, but this was when he was. I liked him when he was in this middle of this run on Spidey. Yeah, looks like the Hobgoblin on the cover.
Is that's during the Stern run?
It is. Pretty sure it is. Yeah, that's a good one, Venkman. Yeah, man.
Is that the Hobgoblin tearing the Spider-Man cover in half?
Yeah, there goes first appearance of the Hobgoblin. Ned Leeds, wasn't it? At first? First Hobgoblin? I mean, I may be remembering it wrong. I don't know, but I was reading it. I was still buying the book at the time. Never opened a bag. Never opened bag Superman 775. What's it look like? I opened mine up, but I ripped it to shreds. But it looks
like a tombstone. Yeah, it's
tombstone thing.
It's they texturized it. I thought about it and actually including it because the poly bag is actually what catches your eye. The comic book cover on the inside is actually pretty plain, and there's really no art on it at all. It's made to look a bit like a tombstone. It's given kind of a stone texture, and on it it says with the little Superman logo, "Here lies Earth's greatest hero."
It came with a really cool black armband with the Superman S on it too, which I kept forever.
Yeah, and you also got a fold out page of the Daily Planet and a button. It was like it wasn't like a real button. It was the kind. It was the cheapo kind, like aluminum, where you take the tab at the top and you bend it over your collar to put it on. And yeah, no, I mean it was it takes a lot for me to bite into a gimmick, and I had actually been out of comic books for it didn't take about maybe a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. I kind of got out of it in mid high school, and then this was like second year of college that the death of Superman happened, and it made such news. I was like, all right, I'll bite, and was actually surprised that it really told a really great story, and the storytelling countdown that they do with those books where it starts off with like 5 panels and then you go to the next issue and then there's 4 panels per page, and then you go to the next issue and there's 3 panels per page, and then you go to the next issue and they're down to 2 panels per page, and then 75, which is the issue he dies on, is nothing but splash pages. And I thought that was just genius the way they had kind of put it all together that way. It made for some really good storytelling. The problem is we didn't get Superman looking like Superman. We got Super Mullet. We didn't get Superman looking like Superman for I don't know, like 2 or 3 years after that. He kept that mullet forever, and I was so glad when that thing went away. But then, of course, after he got rid of the mullet, and it was like, yay, the mullet's gone. And it's like, all right, now let's make him electric.
Ice capades, yeah.
Oh, and it's like, terrible. Oh dear God. I was so glad when that was all said and done. It really was.
Still not going to open, he says. I don't blame you so much, Steve. Don't open it. Was it a Juan R? My friend Juan R likes the cover of Captain America 306 from 1985. I think that was a Paul Neary cover. Didn't it have Captain Britain on the cover with him or something like that?
306
or something. That was
I don't think that was not a Captain. I don't think it was Captain Britain. But I know that period. It was Paul Neary. I can promise you.
I just pulled it up. Yeah, Captain Britain's on the cover with him. There you go. I just found it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a nice cover. There you go. Yeah.
Mine was a little bit later in the run, and I almost included it. Was the Mike Zeck cover? It might have been a Neary cover of Captain America No More with him looking down and the flag bleeding because he was being pulled out of the costume.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Then there was a variant cover that for Man Without a Country. Was Man Without a Country? Yeah. Number 1.
Yeah.
Where he's pulling open his shirt like Superman.
Nice. Yeah.
These are all honorable mentions that I didn't include.
What's that? You put some up there? Let's see. Sounds. Let's see here. Silly as it sounds. Like celebrate the Century Superheroes stamp album cover, and that was part of the collaboration of DC and UPA. Cool, Juan R. I don't know if I've seen that or not anytime soon. Anyway, I mean recently. Let's see here. Beckman says, I have 3 versions of the Superman 75, regular newsstand and bag version that I've opened, and 1 bag. There you go. Cool. Yeah, Superman Red and Blue. I like the older Superman Red and Blue, but we're talking 50s and 60s. That's just me. Yeah, wow. But yeah, there's so many covers. I'm gonna do, and in the not too distant future, and I don't mean next Sunday AD. I'm gonna do one where I'm gonna put just pick a bunch of great covers that weren't on this list, and just talk and show them and run by them and talk about them and stuff. Because there's so many covers that need to be shown, and there's so many great ones, and we just shown 50 great covers, and there's so many. FF 371 through 375. That's a lot of them. You like all those covers, or you just? Yeah, I mean, let's see. Let's look at that one because I was already gone from buying that book at the time.
Yeah, I think Brent was off the book by that time.
Yes.
So this would have been Ordway or Buscema back.
Byrne was long. Byrne was long gone.
Actually, he'd been gone for not very long. Actually, I think he left it like.
He said 371.
Oh, okay.
Not 271.
Yeah.
Didn't he leave before 300? Way before 300?
Yeah. No, yeah, he left it like 270. Was it 272, 273, or maybe 276, something like that. It's been so long.
Yeah, this is Ryan or somebody like that was doing it at some point there. Can't find. I'm looking at some covers here. Oh, is that?
If this is during the pine cone thing era, he is fired.
This is. Oh my God! Well, 375 is that stupid? Was a prism cover with the background with Sue's got her boob window costume and the Thing's wearing his mask, his helmet. Yeah. Everyone has their eras, I guess. I was way unhappy at that point. Oh yeah, he said 371. That's that red, all red background. Or they had variants, white ones, red ones with the Human Torch. Remember that? It was an embossed cover thingy.
Yep.
Gimmick cover. Good God, I was way way detached from the series at that point. Who was it that mentioned it here? I forgot who mentioned it now. Oh, Smart Steve. Yeah, I was gone by then, Smart Steve. So I remembered that book because I was in the business still, but I did not pick it up. I remember, boy, there was some gimmicky covers back then. That's when the foil stamped, variants and different covers and stuff, gimmicks used to come out, stuff, things like that.
One of the few foil embossed gimmick covers that I really actually kind of dug was an Avengers cover. It was in a bronze color, and it was the Vision. He was embossed on the cover, and I thought that one was actually pretty cool.
That was kind of cool. I remember that.
But Fantastic Four. I stayed through Byrne. I stayed for about maybe 10, maybe a dozen issues afterwards, and then I couldn't read the Fantastic Four again until, believe it or not, Mark Waid and Michael Ringo came on, and then you got some pretty cool covers. That was a fun run. I mean, it was different, but it was still FF, and it was done respectfully. And I so love Michael Ringo's artwork on the book. Him and Carl Kessel were doing great work.
Yeah. Was it? What's the one he mentioned? Because I always get these. Oh, yeah, 341. I got to tell you, Chris, the great Chris Persia, I was never big on McFarlane, but I remember this cover very well of Hulk.
Is that the Wolverine one?
341. That would actually be later or before. If that was the Wolverine one, the one would be like 340. So it was right before it.
I know this cover.
Yeah. But 341, yes. And I do remember it well. And you like that one. I was getting, I don't know, was he doing the interior at that time or just covers? I think he was doing the interior with Peter David. I'm not mistaken. But I could be mistaken on that.
Who?
McFarlane.
Was he doing the interior? Yeah, he was doing the interiors.
Yeah, he was doing the interior at that point. But I hear you, Chris. Absolutely. You likes the Spider-Man #1 cover. The only McFarlane covers I really kind of liked were his Batman Year 3 covers, even though they were weird.
Year 2.
Year 2. Sorry, he did Year 2. Yeah, so Alan Davis did Year 3. So sorry.
No, actually, they both did Year 2.
They both did Year 2.
Year 3.
Oh, I'm thinking of Perez.
Yeah, Perez did 3. Alan Davis started Year 2 and then left.
Yes.
And McFarlane finished it up.
That was I'd seen McFarlane previously on Infinity Inc., but it was really he really changed a lot when he started doing when he did those Batman books. So I got you. It was only after the covers of the story I will make that out.
I want to say it was Spider-Man #2 and his image of the lizard that I really dug. I dug that cover. The first one is iconic, it's crouched down with all the spiders around him. But the second one with the lizard, I thought was a really cool cover. McFarlane's one of those, you either love him or you hate him. And I found I went full circle. I used to love him, and then I started to hate him, and just because I started to get into more illustrative art, guys like Neil Adams, the Bernie Wrights, and the Mike Kalutas, and Frazettas and stuff like that. And then along the way, I started really paying more attention to storytelling. Became and guys like, you hate a lot of people hate his rendering style, John Romita Jr., but his storytelling is second to none as far as panel graphic storytelling. And when you go back and you look at Todd McFarlane from a graphic storytelling standpoint, he's really good. I mean, he's really good. He's a great storyteller. Um,
I like what Harley
so,
Ellison said about him. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
well,
Well, no, that's another
you,
can of worms there.
yeah, no, I'm talking about, okay. We're gonna do a panel. We're gonna do establishing shot, okay, and then we're gonna do full body, yeah, at mid size. Then we're gonna do a close up, and then we're gonna do a small, where he's far away, and setting up. You know, Wallace Wood used to do a deal where he was you assigned a texture or a color to a background, but only black. If you look at it from a black and white perspective, to where it's like white would be your foreground, gray would be your midground, and black would be your background, and you could swap them up any way you wanted to, but you had to adhere to one being one being the other, and the other being the last, so that everything stayed in made built a three-dimensional space. And McFarlane's actually really, really good at doing that.
Well, you're the artist, man. You're the artist for sure. By the way, because Venkman came in at number 15. Venkman, I'm gonna do a very quick recap. I'm just gonna run through them all quick. Our different picks here. Just gonna do it real fast, because anyone who came in late, you'll see what all the picks were. At 25 for Mark was the Incredible Hulk 377. My 25 was Legion of Superheroes 37. His 24 was Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 4. My 24, Mike Kaluta's The Shadow number 1 cover. 23 for Mark was The Amazing Spider-Man number 186. My number 23 was the Limited Collector's Edition, Treasury Edition, wraparound cheat cover, Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes. Mark's number, I want to lose my numbers, 22, right? Mm-hmm. Man, I got it right for a couple times. Mark's choice then at 22 was New Teen Titans number 40. All its bloody glory. Spooky cover for Halloween there. My 22 was Giant Size Annual Daredevil Giant Size Annual number 4 by Gil Kane. 21 for Mark was Detective Comics 587. 21 for me was Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man, the Battle of the Century, the Greatest Treasury. 20 for Mark was the Mighty Thor 460. 20 for me, Marvel 2-in-1 number 50 by George Perez. By the way, Mark's the art. I'm sorry, I've been screwing up, not forgetting the artists on some of these. Everyone, I'll try to do better. But that detective Mark had, that was Drew. That was Norm Brayfrogel, and on the Thor one it was Lou Harrison. This, of course, is George Perez, Ross Andrew on that other one. But anyway, we'll just start from here and I'll try to remember. 19 for Mark was Frank Miller's cover on Batman: The Dark Knight Returns number 1. My number 19 was John Romita Jr., not Senior, sorry. Junior wasn't even born yet. He may have been born. Amazing Spider-Man number 100. Yeah, I'm senile, sue me. 18 for Mark. The Shadow number, a different Shadow number 4, a different series, of course. It was later titled for the trade. It was Blood. Was it Blood and something or other?
Blood Judgment.
Blood Judgment. Okay. But for this, it was a title. Number 4 by Howard Chaykin and my buddy Richard Ory. My number 18, Captain America number 1 by Jack Kirby. His number 17 Batman Adventures Holiday Special, number 1 by Bruce Timm. My number 17. Batman number 238, 100-page DC Super Spectacular, Neil Adams. His number 16, Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man, number 101 by John Byrne. My number 16, Daredevil, The Man Without Fear, number 7 by Wallace Wood. Mark's number 15, Bernie Wrightson Master of the Macabre, number 4 by Bernie Wrightson, of course. My number 15, The Legion of Superheroes, number 283 by Jim Aparo. I should have had more Aparo on my list, and I'm sorry. Should have. Mark's number 14 is Alpha Flight, number 17 by John Byrne. My number 14 is Fantastic Four, number 3 by Jack Kirby and Dick Ayers. Mark's number the 13, right? Did I miss one? That's 13. Yep. Sorry. Thanks, man. I'm trying. Mark's number 13 is Fantastic Four, number 220, John Byrne and Joe Sinnott. My number 13, Astro City, number 1/2 by Alex Ross. Mark's number 12, Wonder Woman Volume 2, number 1 by George Perez. And all of its wraparound glory. My number 12, Captain America's Bicentennial Battles by Jack Kirby with some Romita inks on it. Mark's number 11, Captain America Annual, number 8 by Mike Zeck. Did John Beatty ink that? I can't remember.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
That's cool. That's cool. My number 11 is, obvious. Fantastic Four, number 1, Jack Kirby and Dick Ayers. And now we're in the top 10, right, bro? Top 10 time. Yep. Top 10, folks, of our recap of our favorite covers that we talked about extensively at the time. But we're just recapping it for you. Number 10 for Mark C, as in the great Mark C, is The Uncanny X-Men 142 by Terry Austin. My number 10 is Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., number 7 by Jim Steranko. Mark's number 9 is Fantastic Four 260 by John Byrne. My number 9, Justice League of America number 200 by George Perez. Mark's number 8, Swamp Thing number 9, Bernie Wrightson. My number 8, Superman number 233, Neil Adams. Mark's number 7, Avengers number 57 by John Buscema. I'm not sure if he was inked by someone on that or not, but it was great. Great cover. My number 7, Captain America number 110, Jim Steranko. Mark's number 6, Incredible Science Fiction from EC Comics, number 33 by the great Wallace Wood. My number 6, Superman number 252, DC 100-page Super Spectacular by Neil Adams. Mark's number 5, Fantastic Four number 3, Jack Kirby and Dick Ayers. My number 5, Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes 238 by Jim Starlin. Mark's number 4, special collector's edition of The Man of Steel number 1 from 1986 by John Byrne. I'm not sure if he was inked by anyone that or not. Can't remember.
Nope. Dick Giordano, probably.
Okay, gotcha. My number 4, King Size Special Hulk number 1, Jim Steranko. Mark's number 3, Rocketeer Adventure Magazine, #1 by the late, great, God bless you, Dave Stevens. My #3, Swamp Thing #7 by also a late, great, Bernie Wrightson. Again, we've had Bernie Wrightson here a couple of times, the great Bernie Wrightson. Mark's #2, The Uncanny X-Men #133 by John Byrne and Terry Austin. My #2, Action Comics #419 by Neil Adams. And #1, Mark C., the great Mark C.'s #1 all-time favorite comic book cover is Superman Forever, #1 by Alex Ross. And my #1 all-time favorite comic book cover is Fantastic Four #51 by Jack King Kirby and Joe Sinnott. And there's a little bit of a recap for those who'd come in later, had not seen them all. We did talk about them extensively, of course. And we have some more chats. People getting in the chat there, of course. Nice picks.
Can you do me a favor?
Yes, sir. What you got?
Is there any chance you could find that Uncanny X-Men 109 so they could that
Sure.
Alpha Flight #17, they can compare it to the Dave Cockrum version of it?
This is the Google age, my son. We could find anything. Uncanny. Oh yeah, man. Let's see. Give me that number again, bro.
109.
Number 109. I love this cover. This is great. Find a good, nice big copy of it. Yeah, there we go. We got it, man.
Yeah, but the Byrne version's better.
It is, but I love this cover. I mean, I've always loved this. I mean, I love Cockrum. My favorite work of his is Legion and his early X-Men, and I mean, this was great. But there's no argument there at all. Man, I agree with you. The Byrne one's better.
Actually, I really dig his Marvel graphic number, the Futurians.
Oh yeah, yep. He was it. Let's see. And as much as I loved his X-Men, Burns was the best. There's no question about that. Find it. It's got a million pictures. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. This is a great cover we're about to show you that you may have seen before, you may have not. I'm pulling it up now. I probably had it somewhere, but I wouldn't take forever to find it. This way, it's easier just to find it. One of my big laments. You know how I posted a picture that Simonson, two-pager or wrap around for the X-Men Titans team up.
Yeah.
A while back. Originally, that team up was going to be X-Men Legion Superheroes. And it was going to be Cockrum doing the art. Man, as a Legion fan, I understand certainly it was a better business decision at the time to go with Titans. This was before Titans was big. They were planning that. And, man, I would love to have seen that.
Mm-hmm.
By Cockrum or by whomever. That would have been my thing. Okay, where are you? Almost. Where are you? Where are you? Where the hell are you? Okay. Come on, man. Where are you? There it is. Got it. Found it. Here we go, folks. Sorry about that. Vamping and stuff. Yeah. Nice. Wanted. Wolverine. Dead or alive. Dead or alive. Good. You are coming with me.
It is the Byrne one's better. It's good. The Byrne one's better.
This one's colorful. I like the... Let's see. Let's pull up the Byrne one again. Get back to the Byrne one here. There it is. I like the background on the Cockrum one better, but the figure's better on the Byrne one. Yeah. No, it's classic. Can't go wrong with either one. But there you go. Yeah. Well, at least in this case, Byrne wasn't ripping off himself. Remember how he ripped himself off a couple of times, like when he did it with what was it? Well, that we were talking about earlier. That
the Superman.
The Superman one for the FF cover he did.
Oh, he did that. He did that twice. He that made the cover of Trio #2 as well. That was the Trio was a 4-parter he did for IDW. It was going to be 3 4-parters. He did Trio, which was kind of his rip on the Fantastic Four, except there were three of them, and they were rock, paper, and scissors. And it was actually a pretty cool book. And then after that, he did something called Triple Helix, which was kind of like his homegrown X-Men book. And Trio literally led into Triple Helix 4-parter. And then he was going to do one that was like an Avengers book for 4 parts called Conclave. But by the time he got to Triple Helix, it seemed to have fizzled out. He wasn't selling it. It wasn't selling, so they went ahead and didn't finish it, which is a bummer. But he was towards the end of his run on IDW, he was putting out some pretty good stuff between the Cold War and the Highways, and then the 2 books that I just mentioned. And he did a 4-parter on Jurassic Park that took place right after Jurassic Park 3, wondering where the pteranodons went. And he was putting out some really good stuff. He did an Angel book called God, what was the name of it? But the whole thing was in black and white. But it was like Angel from Buffy the Vampire Slayer Angel, and the whole book was in black and white, and it was in pencil, and it was amazing. And so he literally published the pencils, and then he did another couple Angel books that had Angel versus Frankenstein. And it was those were really good. He was on top of his game there at the end. Of course, he went back and finished up Next Men that he had started for Dark Horse years before too. He finally finished up that series.
I love a lot of his Star Trek stuff in comics that he did for IDW.
Yeah, it got better and better as he went. He was set to go. He was going to do it. He was going to do classic Trek. Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Scotty, Sulu. He was going to do classic Trek as a comic. It was going to happen. And fucking Abrams.
Yep.
Put down the hammer and said, nope, merchandising wise, any comic to be done is good. So he could get his 25 cents on the dollar. Any comic that's going to be done on Star Trek has to be new Trek. And so they put the kibosh on the comic book. So the only way that he was allowed to do original Trek was as a photo novel, because by calling it a photo novel, it was no longer a comic book. So that's how the birth of the Burn New Visions photo novels, collage novels that he did came about. And I got to say, to be honest, it was some of the best written Star Trek I'd seen in a while. He did a really good job of kind of not only capture the flavor of the original series with these, because he created his own backgrounds on a lot of this stuff, and put in other actors and faces on other bodies to try to build new characters and what have you, and did a pretty good job. But when it came to the characters we knew and loved, he knew how to capture their voice, so that when you read it in the characters' voices, you remember hearing it on the show. The cadence of how they spoke was right compared to the dialogue he had written, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was good. I had a bunch of those that were good. But I also liked a lot of the comics he did before, like McCoy, Frontier Doctor, Star Trek Crew.
The Crew was great. Surprisingly enough, and I didn't even realize it at the time because it came out so sporadically, he was doing little bits of stories about Romulans here and there.
Yeah,
and then
really good.
What you didn't realize, and what finally came to be, is that those Romulan stories actually built on each other and became one long narrative, and then built into the Crew as he followed number one, was played by Majel Barrett, eventually Roddenberry in the show, and actually followed her as well into to the point to where they both came together and they overlapped. And it was really great because it was like, man, I don't know if you had planned to do this or if this just kind of came together and you were able to make it work, but God bless you, sir, because you've been doing this kind of stuff now for quite some time. I mean, he'd been doing Star Trek books off and on for probably 3-4 years, but it was never anything long-term or super cohesive or like a one book long run. It was just little spatters here and there. And it just kind of it came together at the end. I have the hardcover of it all. It's a great book. He did a good job. Even Assignment Earth, where he went back and did Gary 7, was really good.
Yep, got them all, and there was some good stuff. Yeah, it was a shame that he couldn't do more, but
Yeah, that's considering the terrible Star Trek we've gotten since 09.
Fake
the
Trek.
anger I feel towards it is immense. But when my favorite comic book artist, who apparently does know how to write Star Trek, knew how to draw Star Trek, who was going to do a series of original Trek, was lost to time forever. He will never do it because of what J.J. Abrams had declared. It just pisses me off that much worse. I fume it. I fume thinking about it. I really do. It's what could have been. What could have been.
It wouldn't be a Clobberin times without J.R. Abrams' filthy, trashy, horrible garbage that he called Star Trek. Because I created it just to attack him. Back in 2009. Screw it. Well, other things too. But yeah, it's filth. Absolute filth. No, I'm with you, man. It sucks. And Star Trek has just been dead for a long time now.
Yeah, but, I hear people saying, well, the Lower Decks comedy show is not that bad. And it's like, oh, please, I can't. I just can't. And it's like, when I think about animated Star Trek, and I'm just like, all I ever wanted was them to take the Next Generation crew and do a Filmation series. A limited animation, it would have been cheap, and do a limited animation, just write good stories and bring the crew back to do the voices. And I would have been so happy. And hell, we were talking about, trying to save the movie theaters, and how on Saturdays they should try doing a Saturday morning cartoon where they run old Saturday morning cartoons on the big screen. And I sent in a chat to Gary over at Neurotic, and I was like, could you imagine how cool it would be to go watch a marathon Filmation Star Trek animated series on a big screen?
I'd love it.
And it just brings a smile to my face.
Oh man, dude, gotta be all over that. This one's for you, Venkman, by the way. You mentioned this, and I love the Gil Kane Superman covers, and I wanted more Gil Kane on this list. It's sort of like trying to pick an Adams cover, a Wrightson cover, a Kaluta cover. There's so many of them, especially with Gil Kane's covers. But do you want to see a Chaykin cover that I love?
Sure. There you go.
No, seriously, it takes a while. There we go.
No, I got it.
Okay, it took me a second. I thought it didn't work. God, I love this. I mean, again, this was a kind of a hit or miss anniversary book. I don't know if any of you ever got it. When it came out, I was pretty excited about it, and it was good. There's a lot of interesting things in there, as it goes. But it was that cover, man. I don't know, something about it. Really liked it. And Steranko has a great big old 2-spread in there. So I don't know if you ever had this book, but it's nice.
No, that's one that's eluded me. Like I said, yeah, for me, I tried to get into Superman back in '78 when the movie came out, and it was really hard because Denny and everybody had already taken the foundation of Superman that I knew, and had updated it and morphed it to the point to where, and there was so much extra stuff to take in that it was impenetrable to me. I had to wait till Byrne came along. I mean, I know that sounds bad, but it's true. I had to wait so that I could actually get in.
We've had that argument.
Yeah.
We're not arguing.
Well, yeah. Well, and once I got in, I mean, I went back and discovered all the other stuff. I really did, but I had to wait till he came along so I could. Superpowers Luthor in the suit was awesome.
I love it. Of course, that was way before. He had that suit way before Superpowers, but yeah.
Yeah, and then
I love the power suit.
Action Comics, I think it was in '78 or '79 when we had the 2-parter. I also love the Supermobile, where Jose Luis Garcia Lopez was doing the covers, I think, and he did that 2-parter with the Supermobile. Those were cool covers too. Fighting Amazo.
Yeah, love it. Juan, here, Jar Jar Abrams' name. He managed not only to call Star Trek down him and Alex Kurtzman, but he took Star. Yeah, he is. Well, yeah, again, Doomcock said it best. He's the cinematic antichrist. It's perfect. He's absolutely what he is. Or Jar Jar Abrams is poison, and he's filth. Beckman, those are some. I'm with you, dude. There's so many great Spider-Man covers. That it's tough to pick it. It's funny about because you mentioned Amazing Fantasy 15 right there, which is iconic. It's so that's such a weird thing for me because Ditko did a version that got turned down, so they got Kirby to do the cover, and Kirby, Ditko was so right for Spider-Man, Kirby was not right for him, and yet I like the Kirby cover that they used better than the Ditko one's okay. There's something about that Kirby one, maybe just because I got used to it. And yet I wouldn't have wanted him to do. I'm glad that it turned out with Ditko doing the series. And yes, a lot of great covers there. 33 in particular. Yeah. Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, I love Kirby to death, but I've seen him do commissions of Spider-Man, and
no, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It
yeah, I'm glad that never happened.
No, it wasn't. That wasn't for him, and that's good. So, and yet they made him do the cover because they were afraid to put the other one out. They could have put the other one out; it'd have been fine. But that other one was is perfect.
Yeah, there's a website called Cover Browser.
Yes.
And if anybody ever gets a chance and just wants to go look up awesome covers, I can't recommend that one enough. There's like database and stuff like that where you can kind of flip through them all. But Comic Browser, you get like 50 in a row. And I kind of like the layout that they have. It's a fun layout to go through and look at all the awesome covers for whatever title that you can find on there.
It is indeed. I have, by the way, Angman, Spectacular Spider-Man magazine too by Jam. I have both those. There were like two of them, or more than. Were there 3 or 4? Whatever there were, I have that magazine. A few of them anyway. Or 2. Man, was there only 2?
No, you got the Treasury. Is that the Treasury?
There was a black and white magazine with some great covers. Okay. Yeah, I have the bag though. It was great. But yeah, cool stuff. I'm glad. Something you mentioned earlier, Vankman. I want to go. Oh yeah, I mentioned Untold Legend of Batman 3 cover by Lopez. I actually liked the Byrne did the interior of the first one, as you know, Untold Legend of Batman. But I like that cover a lot, even though I think it's a Lopez cover on the first one as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think he did all the he did, and then Aparo did the cover number 2. Then Lopez made it 3. I can't remember exactly, but
Byrne. Actually, I think Byrne did the pencils and Aparo did the inks on the first one.
The first one,
which is a beautiful combination.
Oh man, yeah, would love to see more of that. I remember at the time, as much as I love Aparo, I wanted that to continue, but he didn't do 2 and 3.
Nope.
And so I'm not, what the deal is on that, but yeah.
Tales or Legends of the Dark Knight, the hardcover volume series. All 4 of that whole series is inside the Lin Wein, because he was the writer on it. It's in his hardcover.
Yeah. Great stuff. Well, man, I tell you what, I've had a wonderful time. I could do it forever. I could do it all night talking about comic book covers, and it would take me all night. It would take me all year. There's so many great ones. Bottom line, everyone, is we like comic book covers because that's my happy spot. Like if I walk into a comic shop, especially when I see old covers on the wall, I'm screwing around the internet, whatever it is, old comic book covers.
And to Jeff Loeb, who doesn't like seeing dialogue balloons on comic book covers, man.
Yeah. Jeff Loeb's. Fuck you, Jeff. You want another fuck you for Jeff Loeb? He's a jackass that cost us Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Screw him.
Because, it really depends. I mean, some covers don't need it, but, if you can tell a story, it's always good stuff.
No, I'm with you. Thanks, Bankman. Yeah. Only 2 of them. I have those.
There's a sensational Spider-Man Treasury edition. The one where he's kind of squatting down on the spider emblem, and it's got the red cover, red background behind him. It's kind of great cover. Yeah, that's a great cover.
Great cover. There's so many. I mean,
yep.
Well, there were so many. It's almost to do best to do it by character or series, like greatest Avengers covers, greatest Spider-Man covers, great FF covers, and what have you.
Oh,
In a
you
sense, yeah.
talk about treasury editions. What about the fabulous Fantastic Thor? The one was that Ramita did.
I remember the Kirby one. Yeah, there was a good. Yeah, there was a great. Yeah, there's a great when with Thor flying. There is. Yeah, that's right.
No, not Thor. It's the fabulous Fantastic Four, and it has the rocket going off in the background. And I want to say it may have been a Sim. Yeah, but I thought it was a Ramita cover. Yeah. Love that cover. Fabulous. I love it. I had it as a T-shirt. Loved that.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I want that shirt now.
That's one of my that was one of my favorite images of Fantastic Four ever. Not done by either Kirby, Byrne, or Ringo.
There were two. No, excuse me. There were like I think 3 Fantastic Four treasuries.
I only have 2 of them. Yeah. I have that one and then the chess one with Dr. Doom.
Yeah, that's a great one with Dr. Doom on the cover. A big version of him, a giant of him on the cover with the team fighting by Kirby cover. Yeah, and then there was one that's Buscema reprints.
Okay, I don't have that one
with Galactus on the cover also on there. So
yeah, they actually reprinted that one in the Behold Galactus big giant.
They did, yeah. Yeah, they did. That's right. Yeah, it's funny. That is a great book. They did leave out some Galactus stuff though. I thought they were going to just put it all in there. I'm not saying they should have put the last Galactus story in there because it didn't finish, but they left out a couple of them. But still, great book. And I highly recommend it. Well, everyone, I tell you what, I want to thank my good pal, the great Mark Sear, because I got to talk about something I love to talk about. So thank you, bud. It was always
glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, man. Let's do it again. Let's come up with some other cool comic stuff to talk about soon, I hope. And everyone else, I appreciate y'all stopping by. The great Bankman, so good to see you again, sir. Eastland Burkholder, I'm always pleased to see you. The great King of the Wrenches was here. I don't know if he's still here, but Chris Persia, thank you. Smart Steve, it is nice to meet you. It's the first time I met you. Eastland Burkholder, thank you. My old buddy Juan R. It is. Thank you. And anyone else who may have popped in that I don't know about or whatever, or if you're listening later on Moira Kitty popped in. Love and hugs there to you. Thank you so much, dear. And of course, anyone who is listening on the download, I want to thank you so much for it. If you like comic book covers, please comment below and let us know what you think of our lists and tell me about some comic covers you love. And we'll see. Venkman Reason Burn only did the first issue of Untold Legend because a scheduling comic. That is true. Yes, Burn was going to do all 3 and opening his schedule. There you go. And it's a damn shame, too, because it would have been nice. It's still a pretty nice little series. But Untold, I think I reread it recently, in fact. Untold Legend of Batman. So, but
by the way, I want to say it's in November it's coming. Because there's not a lot of it, but there is a volume. I was telling you about the hardcover volume of Lin Wein that the stories are in.
Yes,
they're putting out a Jose Luis Garcia Lopez volume of Legends or Tales of the Batman or Legends of the Dark Knight or whatever they call it, but the hardcover ones, like they did for the Adventures. Yeah, he's got 2 volumes on the Adventures of Superman. They're finally going to give him a Batman volume. I'm like, yeah.
Did he do a? I got one of the Batman ones. You're saying he did Superman ones. Did he do he did another one?
Yeah, they did another one, but they started to get in. I mean, they started scraping the bottom there. I mean, they were like the Elseworld stuff that he did with Superman. There was one that they did that's in there, So I mean,
okay.
They start getting into like the late 80s and early 90s stuff, looking for stuff that he had done with Superman, and I'm like, I can't imagine there being a volume 3 because I can't think of anything else he did. I mean, they gave you everything. So. And the Aparo Volume 3 is out already, and I'm like,
nice.
Yeah, there's another volume of her.
Damn.
He did so much. I could do like 10 volumes of his stuff.
Nice.
And I'll probably get them all. They're so amazing. He was great. Jim Aparo. If Neil Adams redefined Batman, then Aparo carried that torch for a long time.
Love that man. Yeah, I just read I reread one of those Aparo's team ups with Sergeant Rock. Because I was thinking about putting that cover on there. I just ended up reading that crazy Bob Haney comic. I'm going to be doing a show not too long from now about Earth B, if anyone is familiar with that. But thank you, everyone. I'm going to play our little outro here. And again, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, my friends.